The day Murin announced her relationship on social media, Lin Su let his wrists at home. I saved him, used my scholarship to cover his medical bills, and helped him through that darkest chapter of his life. After graduation, we started a business together, building a fortune worth hundreds of millions from nothing. I planned to tell Lin Su the happy news of my pregnancy on our wedding day. The day before the wedding, Murin returned to the country and pursued Lin Su, kissing him right in front of me. Lin Su took off the ring and gave it back to me, saying, "Yaron, the one I love is Murin. I don't want to settle for you anymore." Lin Su gave Murin a wedding of the century, while I bled out and died tragically on the operating table. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Lin Su slit his wrists in a suicide attempt. I watched him coldly as the blood ran like a river. 1. On New Year's Eve, Murin's trust fund boyfriend set up a party at a bar. At the peak of the revelry, a confession flashed on the screen. "Murin, I like you." Murin handed me her phone and asked me to record a video for her. Chin Chu took out a necklace and put it on Murin, then said loudly, "Murin, be my girlfriend." Murin nodded shyly. "Okay." The two of them leaned in and kissed, while their friends cheered them on. As I took in this familiar scene, I knew I had been reborn. After the kiss ended, Murin took the phone from my hand, her face beaming with happiness as she said, "I'm going to post this on my social media to make it official." In my past life, Murin had also made her relationship with Chin Chu official by posting about it on social media on New Year's Eve. Right after she posted it, Lin Su's call came through. Murin hung up on Lin Su's call and grumbled, "So annoying. He's pestering me every single day." The Lin Su she mentioned was my fiancé in my past life, a man I had poured my heart and soul into, only for him to break it completely. As for Murin, she's my best friend and was also my college roommate. Lin Su was initially interested in me. He asked Mu Ran to deliver his love letter for him. Mu Ran threw the love letter in the trash and instead pursued Lin Su herself. After Lin Su fell for Mu Ran, she turned around and got together with Chin Chu. According to the plot from the previous life, Lin Su will slit his wrists tonight. Chin Chu wrapped his arm around Mu Ran's waist, forcing drink after drink down her throat. Mu Ran got drunk and her phone kept ringing incessantly. Lin Su had called her over a dozen times without an answer, finally sending a text. "Mu Ran, if you don't pick up, I'm going to slit my wrists." Mu Ran shoved her phone screen in my face, smearing, "What a loser. Using suicide to guilt trip me into taking him back. I can't stand men who can't handle rejection." I took a sip of water. Indifferent. Mu Ran turned to me again, saying, Ran, if he really does kill himself, I'm afraid his family will come after me. Could you go check on him at his rental place for me? We don't want this to turn into a death." With that, Mu Ran fished a set of keys from her bag and pressed them into my hand, whispering by my ear, "These are the keys to Lin Su's apartment." 2. In my past life, it was also at this moment that Mu Ran shoved a set of keys into my hand. She asked me to go check on Lin Su to make sure he didn't do anything drastic. When I arrived, Lin Su was lying in bed, blood from his wrist pooling on the floor. I called the police and an ambulance, then stayed by his side at the hospital all night. His father was back in their hometown and couldn't be reached, so I used my scholarship money to cover his medical bills. After he woke up, I saw he was downcast, so I encouraged him, counseled him, and helped him through that dark period. He gradually let go of Mu Ran and started pursuing me again. At first, I only saw him as a friend and turned him down a few times. He was persistent and courted me for years. After graduation, we started a business together. As the company grew, I accepted his confession. With our company's assets now in the hundreds of millions, the two partners getting married will allow us to maximize our resources. On another New Year's Eve, he had a ring ready and proposed to me at a bar. That night, he showered me with sweet words and we planned out our blissful life together after marriage. I gave myself to him completely and utterly. Later, I became pregnant with his child. He planned a grand wedding promising to make me the most beautiful bride. But on the eve of our wedding, Muran returned to the country. During the years Lin Su and I have been together, Muran has dated countless boyfriends and even married a man significantly older than her. Now that she is single again, she has set her sights on winning Lin Su back. Lin Su went to the airport to pick her up. In the passenger seat, she leaned over and kissed him. She completely pretended not to see the engagement ring on Lin Su's finger. Lin Su blushed and said, Miran. I'm marrying Iran tomorrow. Miran smiled faintly. I know. But I'm back now. Do you still intend to marry her? Linsu fell silent. While waiting at the traffic light, Miran took Linsu's hand and said with a smile, Linsu, I know you don't love Iran. You're just using her as my substitute. Do you dare to say that when you were with her? You never once imagined she was me. When you were lost in passion, calling her Ran Ran. You were really calling for Ran Ran. Me. Weren't you? For the rest of your life. Do you really want to spend it with someone you don't love? Every word Miran said struck a chord deep in Linsu's heart. The more unattainable someone is, the harder it is to let go. In the end, Linsu just couldn't accept losing her. At the next traffic light, Linsu pulled Miran close and they lost themselves in a passionate kiss. They only broke apart reluctantly when the light turned green and the cars behind them started honking impatiently. Linsu declared firmly to Miran, all right. I won't marry her. I'll marry you. 3. Linsu brought Miran to our home. He took off the ring and handed it back to me. Then, intertwining his fingers with Miran's, he said to me, Iran. The one I love is Miran. I don't want to settle for you anymore. Have you really thought this through? I was 2 months pregnant. I had planned to share the happy news with him at our wedding tomorrow. Linsu's eyes were only for Miran, with not a shred of affection left for me. I've made up my mind. If there's nothing else, you should move out now. Miran is moving in tonight. My heart was breaking. What if I told you I'm carrying your child? Linsu paused for a moment, then replied with chilling indifference. Then get rid of it. I'll make an appointment with the doctor for you. I slapped Linsu across the face and yelled, Linsu, you're worse than an animal. Iran. That's enough. Linsu doesn't love you. Forcing it is pointless. You made your bed. Now accept the loss, Miran said, her heart aching as she gently rubbed Linsu's cheek. She stood on her tiptoes to blow softly on the red mark I'd left. Ignore her, Linsu said, taking Miran's hand and leading her into the master bedroom. He locked the door behind them and got into bed with Miran. On the very same bed he and I had shared. They were swept up in a moment of passion, completely oblivious to the fact that I was still outside. I left that house without taking a single belonging. And I never looked back. The very next day, Linsu and Miran held a grand and lavish wedding, while I lay on a cold operating table. I never imagined that Linsu and Miran had conspired together and bribed the surgeon who was operating on me. I bled out and died on the operating table. The night I drew my last breath was Linsu and Miran's wedding night. They moved into the new villa that Linsu and I had personally renovated and decorated. Lying in Linsu's arms, Miran said, with Iran dead, you won't have to give her half the company's assets. All the hundreds of millions you two built together are ours now. Perfect. From now on, you can stay home as a full-time wife. I'll take care of you. Money's no object. Linsu said emotionally, holding Miran close. Ran Ran. Have a baby with me. Okay. Miran replied shyly. I pushed the memories aside and stared at the set of keys in my hand. Fate has given me a second chance. This time, I'll make sure Linsu and Miran pay the price. I got up and moved into the shadows, pulling out my phone to video call Linsu. Linsu answered. He was holding a sharp blade poised to slit his wrist. He asked me, where's Miran? I turned the rear camera towards Miran, who was at that moment nestled in Chinchu's arms. Linsu's eyes welled up the instant he saw the footage on the screen. 4. Provoked. Linsu pressed a razor blade against his own wrist. I said coldly, aren't you a bit old for using suicide as a cry for attention? A little scratch like that won't even make Miran blink. If you're serious about dying, then get on with it. Hearing this, Linsu made another cut. Blood welled up. Iran. Don't provoke me. Put Miran on the phone. She's very busy right now. She can't come to the phone, I said. Glancing over at Miran, I saw Chinchu helping her with her coat, his arm around her waist as they prepared to leave. Miran saw me and started walking towards me. I covered my phone screen and stepped forward to meet her. Miran. Where are you going? Miran leaned in and whispered in my ear. I'm going to a hotel with him. I won't be back tonight. Before I could say a word, Chinchu took her hand and they left the bar. I picked up my phone and continued talking to Linsu, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Miran went out with Chinchu. She's not coming back tonight. Care to guess where she'll be staying? Linsu's face grew paler by the second, and the blood from his wrist flowed more and more freely, staining the sheets red. I pretended not to see, watching coldly as he bled out. After hanging up the phone, I took the key Miran gave me and walked out of the bar. There was a river ahead. I casually tossed the key into the water. Lin-Su, you want to die, don't you? I won't stop you. Let go of the savior complex. Respect the fate of others. If I had understood the true meaning of this in my past life, I wouldn't have died so tragically. It's not too late to wake up to the truth now. I slept exceptionally soundly that night. The next day was the weekend, and Miran came back in the morning. She had a new phone and showed it off to me, saying, "My boyfriend gave this to me. What do you think of the color?" I glanced at the red mark on Miran's neck and shot back. "You've known Chin-Chu for less than a month, haven't you? And you've already slept with him." Miran's face fell. "What are you implying? That I'm too easy?" I replied. "I didn't say that. But if that's what you think, I won't argue." Miran said with a sarcastic tone. "Yaren, you're just jealous I found a boyfriend from a wealthy family, aren't you? No need to be so bitter. We've known each other for less than a month. But what we have is real. Is that so?" I smiled slightly and nodded. "That's nice. Well, I wish you both the best." Miran's expression softened a little. She leaned in and asked me. He also suggested I move in with him. "What do you think? Should I say yes?" I replied offhandedly. "If you want to say yes, just say yes. Why ask for someone else's opinion? Aren't you always so self-assured anyway?" "You're right." Miran nodded thoughtfully. "Confiding in me, I do want to accept. But I don't want to seem too eager. I'll wait a few days before giving him an answer." I responded. Right. Right. The sound of underclassmen chatting drifted in from the hallway. I heard that Lin-Su, the senior from the finance department, slit his wrists in his off-campus apartment last night. An ambulance took him to the hospital in the early hours for emergency treatment. I wonder how he's doing now. Doesn't Lin-Su have feelings for Muran? Last night, Muran posted a photo with her boyfriend on her social media. Do you think that's why Lin-Su tried to take his own life? Muran froze upon hearing this, then confronted me. "Yi Ran, didn't I ask you to check on Lin-Su last night? You didn't go. What happened to that set of keys I gave you?" 5. I was about to give you back the key, but your boyfriend just dragged you away without a word. I shot back. "What? You call and I'm supposed to just go? He tried to kill himself over you. Not me. How old is he? Anyway, throwing a fit and trying to end it all over some trivial thing. Does he have any respect for the parents who raised him?" Muran stared at me in disbelief. "Yi Ran, what's happened to you? You were never like this before." Lin-Su tried to kill himself. And you can still spout such bitter, heartless sarcasm. I shot back. You feel sorry for him. Then you shouldn't have been stringing him along while dating someone new. You should have been with him. Then he wouldn't have killed himself. Muran's flushed red and then paled with anger. "You're being completely unreasonable. I was actually thinking of not moving out right away. But since that's how you are, I'll just move out tomorrow." I frowned and said impatiently. "You're moving out because you want to. Don't pin everything on me. Let's just delete each other." Muran took out her phone and deleted my WeChat right in front of me. "Fine. I'll delete you." And with that, I promptly removed her from my contacts. The next day, Muran moved out of the dorm and started living with Qingxiu off campus. News of Lin-Su's suicide attempt spread. I had thought he died last night, but it turned out he was successfully resuscitated. In my past life, after he regained consciousness, he specifically asked me not to tell his father. It was my scholarship money that covered his medical bills. In this life, I called his father Lin Yuan-song. I told his father about Lin-Su's suicide attempt. Lin Yuan-song bought a train ticket that very night and rushed from his hometown to the hospital. He slapped Lin-Su, then used the hard-saved money meant for his own funeral to pay off the medical bills. Winter break came around in the blink of an eye and my friends all decided to go sing at a KTV. Once we got there, I was surprised to see Lin-Su and Muran were already there. 2. Muran's boyfriend didn't show up today. Lin-Su was sitting in the corner, quietly nursing his drink. As I walked in, he looked up and met my gaze. His expression was both unfamiliar and yet somehow known. I deliberately avoided him and took a seat as far from him as possible. A crowd had gathered around Muran, who was showing off the handbag and jewelry her boyfriend had given her. My friends gasped at the price and gushed. "Wow. Your boyfriend is so generous. You're so lucky." Muran glanced at me, seemingly on purpose. as if gauging my reaction. After sitting for a while, I stood up and said to my friends, "I'm heading off. You all have fun." I walked out of the private room, and Lin Su followed me out. I quickened my pace and so did he. He grabbed my wrist, dragged me into an empty private room, and closed the door behind him. I frowned and snapped, "Lin Su, are you out of your mind?" 6. Lin Su lit a cigarette and took a silent drag. He stared at me intently. "Iran, was it you who called my dad?" I stared at this unfamiliar version of Lin Su, momentarily stunned. In my past life, Lin Su never smoked. Not in college and not after graduation. Either. Back when we were starting the business, partners would often offer him cigarettes. But he never once took a single puff. But now, he handles a cigarette with practiced ease. As if he's done it 1,000 times. If I'm not mistaken, the Lin Su standing before me is not the same Lin Su. The real Lin Su died by cutting his wrist on New Year's Eve. The one here now is a reborn Lin Su. I deny it. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop pretending. I know it's you. Lin Su stubbed out the cigarette he'd only taken 2 puffs from. His eyes red as he said to me, "Yi Ran. Let's start over. The truth is, the one I liked from the very beginning was you, not Muran." At that moment, I was certain he had truly been reborn. I had no idea what happened between him and Muran after I died, or how old he lived to be. All in all, he looks far more weathered now than he did in his past life. He's been through things I haven't. But I'm not interested. I pushed him away with my hand. "I don't care who you like. Just stay away from me." Lin Su cupped my chin, his eyes brimming with possessiveness. "I was wrong. This time, I won't hurt you. I won't let you go." Slap. I slapped him across the face, my voice trembling with rage. "Lin Su, stay away from me. I've already picked up the trash once. I won't do it a second time." A wild look flashed in his eyes. "I'm not trash. Give me one more chance. I'll cherish you properly. I won't even glance at Muran again." "Huh? Who do you think you are?" I sneered, turning to pull the door open. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Yi Ran. Don't go." I sank my teeth into the back of his hand, channeling all the resentment from our past life into the bite until his skin broke and bled. He cried out in pain and let go. I pulled the door open and walked out. In the hallway, Muran looked up and happened to see me. She called out from behind me, "Yaran, why are you still here?" I ignored her. She walked up to the private room and peered through the glass. Seeing Lin Su sitting inside, dejected and smoking, Muran pushed open the door to the private room and walked towards Lin Su. "Lin Su, I was just looking for you. Why are you in here smoking?" Lin Su spat out coldly. "Get lost." Muran stood frozen in place. She probably never expected Lin Su to treat her this way. "Lin Su, are you drunk?" "It's me, Muran. Aren't I your goddess?" Lin Su repeated more emphatically this time. I said, "Get lost." Muran gasped. The Lin Su before her seemed like a completely different person. She had never seen this harsh, aggressive side of him before. "Fine. I'm leaving." Muran huffed and stormed out of the private room. I was waiting for a taxi outside the KTV when Muran rushed out and sneered, "So, this is why Lin Su has been ignoring me lately. You've been clinging to him. Iran. You're such a shameless homewrecker. Watch your mouth." "Muran." I frowned, giving her cold stare. "Get this straight. Lin Su is the one clinging to me, not the other way around. I don't care who's clinging to whom. The point is, Lin Su likes me, even if I don't want him." "You're not next in line." Muran sneered and added, "Chin Chu has more than one girlfriend. I'm thinking of getting another boyfriend myself to make him sweat a little. Lin Su would make a decent backup. Suit yourself. You could find 10 of them for all I care." The taxi arrived. And with those words, I was gone in a cloud of dust. From then on, Muran often made a point of getting close to Lin Su. But Lin Su completely ignored her. Muran thought I was the one meddling and causing trouble. When the new semester began, she spread rumors about me all over school. One day in the cafeteria, I overheard people talking about me. "Do you know why Iran and Muran had a falling out?" "No. I don't." "Weren't they roommates and best friends? How did they suddenly become sworn enemies?" "I heard Iran has a habit of stealing people's partners." "Didn't Lin Su used to like Muran?" "Apparently. Iran meddled and broke them up." "Huh. I never would have thought Iran was that kind of person." "I heard Iran even tried to hit on Chin Chu at a bar." but he wasn't interested. Muran told me that herself. Wow. That's quite the story. I appeared behind the two classmates who were spreading the rumors, cleared my throat, and they immediately fell silent. Muran walked over carrying the food, looking at me with a smug expression. As she passed by me, I stuck out my foot and tripped her. She fell flat on her face, the food scattering everywhere in a most undignified mess. She scrambled to her feet and glared at me furiously. Iran. Was it you who tripped me? I shot back. So what if I tripped you? Stop spreading lies about me. Or next time it won't be just a trip. Morong said through gritted teeth. You'll pay for this. Just you wait. Unable to swallow her pride, Morong went to Chin Chu that very night, tearfully complaining that I had bullied her and begging him to stand up for her and teach me a lesson. Chin Chu was in a difficult position and instead advised her. Iran's family is not to be trifled with. You'd better steer clear of her. Morong didn't believe it. You're afraid of her. Isn't she just from an ordinary family? Chin Chu shook his head. Some people appear ordinary on the surface, but they're anything but. Just do as I say and don't provoke her. I like women who know how to listen. Okay. Morong agreed on the surface, but in her heart, she utterly despised me. The reason Chin Chu was afraid of me was that I had an uncle whom even his own father held in high esteem. 7. Time flew by and in the blink of an eye, we had graduated from university. In my past life, Lin Su and I started a business together. In this life, he invited me to partner up again, but I turned him down. I started my own venture alone. With the experience from my past life, my entrepreneurial journey progressed much more smoothly this time around. One day, while parking in the underground lot for a medical checkup, I ran into Morong and Chin Chu. They were having an argument. In a tone that burped no argument, Chin Chu said, "Get rid of it. This child has come at the wrong time." I didn't get out of the car, staying inside to eavesdrop. Morong shook her head. An abortion would be terrible for my health. I'm keeping it. Chin Chu frowned. Have you lost your mind? Morong. This was just a fling. Did you actually take it seriously? Don't think I don't know about your little escapades. What's going on with you and Lin Su? He's the one with a one-sided crush. There's nothing between us, Muran said, reaching for Chin Chu's hand, her voice softening. Let me have this baby. I want to marry you. Chin Chu impatiently shook her off. Will you ever stop? You should know we're from different worlds. I could never marry you, Muran retorted defiantly. Oh. Is that so? And what if I insist on having this baby? Chin Chu took a bag from the trunk and said to Muran. There's 1 million in here. It's your severance pay. Take care of it and the money is yours. Muran asked in disbelief. You're breaking up with me. Chin Chu said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I'm bored. Why would I keep you around? You're such a scumbag. Muran spat through gritted teeth. She snatched the bag of money and said furiously. Fine. If you don't want this child, I'll take care of it. Chin Chu drove off, throwing back a warning. If I find out you didn't handle it properly, don't blame me for what happens next. Muran lit a cigarette, took a couple of drags, then remembered her pregnancy and irritably stamped it out. She frowned as she saw me step out of the car. Yi ran. Were you hiding in the shadows watching me make a fool of myself? I sneered. Just happened to run into you. Congratulations on becoming a mother. Huh. Spare me the sarcasm. Muran pointed at the bag. Defiant. Do you know how much is in here? 1 million. I got 1 million just like that. It would take you who knows how many years of slaving away to earn that much. If anyone's the joke here, it's you. Seems you're quite proud of it. Well, I wish you a successful surgery. With that, I walked past Muran. She grabbed my wrist and snapped. Yi ran. What on earth did you say to Lin Su? Why has he been giving me the cold shoulder lately? I pulled my hand free. I haven't contacted him. Don't drag me into everything. After I left, Muran made a phone call. She said to the person on the line, find a few people and teach Iran a lesson. I'll send you her license plate number. 8. After my medical checkup, I went to the parking lot to get my car. I had just pulled out of the lot when I realized another car was tailing me. The driver looked like a thug and a man with full sleeve tattoos was sitting in the passenger seat. I figured they were people Muran had hired. The two thugs were tailing me closely. They pulled their car up alongside mine, rolled down the window, and started whistling and flipping me off. Seeing that I was ignoring them, they tried to force my car to pull over. I called my uncle and told him someone was following me. I sent him my location. Then stomped on the gas and sped up. The thugs caught up and started running me off the road. Up ahead was a gas station. I swerved onto the service road and pulled in. They followed me right into the station. I pulled in to get gas, parked the car, and went inside to pay at the register. To my surprise, I ran into Lin Su right there. He saw the two thugs following me, stepped forward to block their path, and said coldly, "She's my girlfriend. What do you think you're doing?" The two thugs sized Lin Su up. Tall, lean, with a clean-cut face, and figured he looked like an easy target. The thug grabbed Lin Su by the collar, his face menacing. "Listen, kid. You'd better mind your own business." Lin Su punched the thug in the face. Cursing, the thug charged at him. The sound of police sirens blared from outside. My uncle had sent help. The two thugs were taken away. Lin Su asked me, "Who did you cross?" I said irritably, "Who else could I have offended?" "Muran." Of course. Upon hearing Muran's name, a flash of hatred surfaced in Lin Su's eyes. "She really is a persistent hunt," he said. "In my past life, when I died, he and Muran held a grand wedding. How could he hate Muran? Did something else happen that I don't know about?" To test my theory, I probed further. "I just ran into Muran at the hospital. She's pregnant with Chin Chu's child. He gave her $1 million in cash to take care of it." I watched Lin Su's expression closely as I spoke. There wasn't a hint of jealousy in his reaction. Instead, his eyes darkened noticeably when I mentioned the $1 million in cash and the phrase "take care of it." I knew Lin Su was strapped for cash lately. His family was never well off and his mother passed away long ago. His father is a gambler and couldn't come up with the money for him to start a business. In our previous life, when we started the business, it was my money that funded it. Lin Su changed the subject. "Were those two people from earlier sent by her to teach you a lesson?" I nodded. "Most likely. Yes." Lin Su fell silent as if hatching some plan. I went to the restroom and when I came out, Lin Su was still there. I took out my phone and waved it in front of him saying, "My phone's dead. Can I borrow yours to make a call?" "Sure," Lin Su said, handing me his phone. I made a call and stepped aside to talk. Lin Su bought 2 bottles of water and handed one to me. After finishing the call, I returned the phone to him. 9. About 2 weeks later, my college classmate Li Lin gave me a call. She was in the restroom. Her voice hushed. "Iran. Guess who I just ran into at the Western restaurant?" I played along. "Who?" "Lin Su and Muran," Li Lin said, her tone full of gossip. "They were in the booth next to mine. I overheard something pretty interesting." I asked curiously, "What's so interesting?" Li Lin's voice was brimming with gossipy excitement. "I heard Lin Su tell Muran that if she got rid of the baby, he would consider being with her. That's a bit out of character for Lin Su. Before, Muran said Lin Su was giving her the cold shoulder and whenever Lin Su mentioned her name, his eyes were filled with hatred. How did you two end up together again? Could this be related to the plan Lin Su has been brewing?" I pressed further. "What did Muran say?" Muran agreed. "She even asked Lin Su if he liked you. And he said no. Hearing that he didn't like you, Muran instantly breathed a sigh of relief and said she'd schedule an appointment with the doctor for the surgery as soon as possible." Lin stopped there. "I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going back to eat." "Alright. Let's catch up later," I said, hanging up the phone. After that, I opened the eavesdropping app on my phone. Last time at the gas station, while I pretended to borrow Lin Su's phone to make a call, I actually installed a hidden eavesdropping app on it. The wiretap software I installed is set to self-destruct in 30 days, so the chances of it being discovered are very low. After a moment of silence, Lin Su's voice came through. "I know Dr. Bayat in Kong Hospital. She's very skilled with this type of surgery. I can make an appointment for you." Muran nodded. "Alright." Lin Su's words reminded me of what I went through in my past life. On the day he married Muran, I was at Kong Hospital having surgery to terminate my pregnancy. The surgeon who performed the procedure was the very Dr. Bai he had mentioned. It was a high-end private hospital where I used to go for all my minor ailments. At the time, it never crossed my mind that Lin Su would be in cahoots with Dr. Bai. I bled out and died a gruesome death on the operating table. It was no accident. Lin Su orchestrated the whole thing, and Muran was in on it. To keep me from claiming my share of the $100 million family fortune, they plotted to have me die on the operating table. In this life, Lin Su offered to help Miran schedule her surgery with Dr. Bai. Could it be that? Now I understand Lin Su's true intentions. But I can't understand why he would do this. What happened between him and Miran after I died in my past life? What made him hate Miran so much? After that day, I often eavesdropped on Lin Su's activities. When he called Dr. Bai, I hit the record button and captured their entire conversation. I also overheard that Lin Su went to Miran's place. Miran said she wanted to invest in Lin Su's company. And she even told him the passcode to her home. 5 days later, Lin Su accompanied Miran to the hospital, where Dr. Bai performed the procedure on her. Lin Su waited outside the operating room. Miran was already 4 months pregnant, making the surgery inherently risky at this stage. She suffered a massive hemorrhage during the operation, and Lin Su entered the operating room to see her. I turned device to hear what was happening over there. The operating room door was sealed shut. Miran grabbed Lin Su's hand, pleading, "Lin Su, save me. Get me transferred to another hospital. I'm too young. I can't die." Lin Su pulled his hand free, his tone icy. "Do you know why you're hemorrhaging? I instructed Dr. Bai to do it. You should have died a long time ago." Miran asked in disbelief. "Lin Su, why are you doing this to me? Didn't you say that if I got rid of the baby, you'd be with me? You actually want me dead. What did I do wrong?" I pricked up my ears to listen. "That's precisely what I'm concerned about." Lin Su, breaking from his usual demeanor, wore a look of hatred. "Miran, the person I liked from the very beginning was Iran. You shouldn't have thrown the love letter I wrote for her in the trash. You shouldn't have pursued me. You shouldn't have come back to seduce me before my wedding to Iran. And you most certainly shouldn't have encouraged me to murder her." Miran was stunned. She hadn't been reborn and had no idea what Lin Su was talking about. "Lin Su, what on earth are you babbling about?" Lin Su continued. "You shouldn't have cheated on me after we got married. And you certainly shouldn't have pulled the plug on my life support after the car accident left me in a vegetative state. Miran, you vicious woman. You never deserved my love. Only Iran is worthy. If it weren't for you, she and I would be living a happy life. She would have borne my child. And our family of 3 would have been together forever. You're insane. That's utter nonsense." Miran tried to climb down from the operating table. Lin Su grabbed her hand and forced her onto the operating table. "Go die. No one is coming to save you," Miran pleaded. "Lin Su, you're insane. I haven't done anything. Why are you doing this to me? Please, let me go." Lin Su said coldly. "Let you go? Impossible. I wish you dropped dead right now." I removed the listening device and gathered my thoughts. It turns out that in my past life, after I died, Miran had an affair. Lin Su was soon in a car accident and became a vegetable, and Miran pulled the plug on his life support. This is the karma Lin Su deserved. In our past life, he plotted to kill me. Of course, he wouldn't come to a good end. Even if he hadn't been in that accident, my family wouldn't have let him off the hook. In this life, after Lin Su slit his wrists on New Year's Eve, the Lin Su from the past life, the one whose oxygen was cut off, was reborn into this world. It's quite satisfying to see them at each other's throats. I put the earpiece back in and heard Miran's cries for help. Her voice grew fainter and fainter. 10. Miran was dead. She died on the cold, sterile operating table. Lin Su took the 1 million in cash from her home for himself. As he was in desperate need of money at the time, he gave 500,000 to Dr. Bai to buy her silence. The fate that befell me in my past life is the same fate that awaits Miran in this one. But my vengeance is not yet complete. The ones responsible for the tragedy of my past life are not just Miran, but also Lin Su and Dr. Bai. I have gathered evidence of Lin Su conspiring with Dr. Bai to murder Miran, and I'm ready to send them both to prison. It takes time to go from submitting evidence to making an arrest. On the 29th day after the bug was planted, Lin Su discovered the surveillance software on his phone. When I eavesdropped on him again, he spoke into his phone. "You ran. I never expected you to be so much more cunning in this life than the last." Impressive. My palms were sweating. The surveillance software was set to self-destruct in just one more day. Of all times, he had to discover it now. This is a disaster. Receiving no response from me, Lin Su continued. "Yan Ran. Let's meet. We need to talk. You choose the location." I switched off the listening device and pondered my next move. Lin Su has someone tailing me, watching my every move. I called him. Lin Su. That's enough. Call off your people and I'll meet you to talk. Lin Su's lips curved into a smirk. If you'd agreed sooner, we could have avoided all this trouble. I'll be waiting for you on the rooftop terrace of the company building. Come straight up, I said. Then hung up the phone. In my past life, when Lin Su and I were starting our business, we would often come up to the rooftop terrace of the company to drink coffee and enjoy the breeze. In that life, he absolutely loved the coffee I brewed and had to have a cup every single day. I brewed 2 cups of coffee and waited for him on the rooftop. Half an hour later, Lin Su arrived. A smile touched the corner of his lips when he saw I'd made coffee for him. He took a sip. His expression one of pure enjoyment. After finishing the coffee, he produced a ring box, opened it in front of me, and went down on one knee. Yan Ran, marry me. In this lifetime, I will treat you well and make up for all I've wronged you. I stared at him coldly. Lin Su, do you think this proposal is romantic? You make me sick. Lin Su stood up, grabbed my hand, and tried to slide the ring onto my finger. I pulled away, but he wrapped his arms around me and said with remorse, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I know you're the only one in this world who truly cares for me, and from now on, I'll care for you with all my heart. 2. Ugh. I punched him in the chest. He pinned me against the rooftop railing, his gaze both tender and desperate. Once you're done hitting me, will you marry me? He then kissed me on the lips. I struggled and bit his lip until it bled. He released me, licking the blood from his lips. My voice was resolute. Lin Su, I would rather die than marry you. Let me go. Rather die than marry me. If you won't marry me, then let's die together. Shall we? He grabbed me by the collar and pushed me toward the edge of the rooftop. Did you get the evidence of my collusion with Dr. to your uncle? You want to send me to prison. I won't let you have your way. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Half of my body was already hanging over the railing. If he pushed just a little harder, I'd likely fall. We were on the 9th floor. A fall from here would almost certainly be fatal. Let me go. I'm not dying with you. You're the one who deserves to die. Lin Su, you monster. I hate you. I regret ever helping you in my past life. And I regret even more being with you. As I spoke, I grabbed the coffee cup from the railing and hurled it at his head. A hit streamed down from his temple. Enraged, he grabbed me by the throat and said, Ran, I've already apologized. If you won't forgive me, are you trying to drive me insane? He pinned me down, his intent to force himself on me clear. I feigned weakness and began to cry. Lin Su, please, just let me go. He kissed away my tears, his voice softening. Be good. Give yourself to me, body and soul. He tried to tear at my clothes, but his strength failed him, his gaze growing distant and unfocused. I knew the drug I'd slipped into his coffee was taking effect. It was designed to temporarily drain his strength. A faint smirk touched my lips as I mustered all my force and shoved him off the rooftop. Thud. His body slammed into a car, was thrown off, and crashed onto the ground. The back of his head was covered in blood. Huh. Lin Su has no idea that my previous fragility was all an act. He tried to murder me once. I tried to murder him once. We're even. 11. Lin Su was taken to the hospital. The car absorbed the impact, preventing him from dying on the spot. He fell into a vegetative state, not in immediate danger of death, but with little chance of regaining consciousness. In such cases, if the family's financial situation doesn't permit it, the general advice is often to discontinue treatment. I have surveillance footage from the scene. That day, Lin Su tried to push me off the rooftop and also attempted to assault me, but he failed. The surveillance footage proves it was self-defense. I was acquitted of the killing. I paid his family compensation, but sadly, he wasn't around to spend it. Lin Su's father, Lin Yuansong, came to the hospital to take care of him, and the compensation money I paid ended up in Lin Yuansong's pocket. Lin Yuansong is a gambler. With a sudden windfall like that, he's bound to blow it all at the tables. In my past life, he constantly took money from me for gambling and never missed a chance to stir up trouble in front of Lin Su, egging him on to transfer assets. After this incident, I threw myself into building my business and making money, while having people keep an eye on the movements of both Lin Su and Lin Yuansong. The private hospital where Dr. worked was shut down. She was arrested and imprisoned for the murder of Miran, finally facing the punishment she deserved. 6 months later, I spotted Lin Yuansong in an alley. He was cornered in the alley by loan sharks from the casino, who were beating him up. I stepped out of my sports car, followed by 2 bodyguards. I asked the debt collectors, "How much does he owe you?" The debt collector replied, "Not much. 100,000. I took out 100,000 renminbi from my bag, handed it to the debt collector, and declared with finality, "I'll pay it for him." They took the money and left the alley. Lin Yuansong glared at me with undisguised hostility. "You killed my son. Don't think for a second that just because you paid off his 100,000 yuan gambling debt, I'll ever forgive you." I took a bank card out of my bag and said to Lin Yuansheng, "I know you're at the end of your rope. There's 100,000 in this account. Do you want it?" Lin Yuansheng reached out to take the card. I pulled the card back and said to him, "This 100,000 won't even begin to cover Lin Su's future medical bills. This money is for you to go back to your hometown and live out your days in peace. It's not for Lin Su's treatment." Lin Yuansheng asked, "What are you implying?" "On the day Lin Su breathes his last, I'll withdraw this 100,000 and give it to you for your trip back home. Lin Su is a wreck now. You don't want him to keep living in such agony, do you? For him, death would be a release." Having said that, I pocketed the card and drove off with my bodyguards. Behind him, Lin Su's father was lost in thought. Later, I heard that Lin Su had died. His own father had pulled the plug on his life support in the hospital. He could never have imagined that after having his life support cut off by Mu Ran in his past life, it would be his own father who did it in this one. After Lin Su's death, Lin Yuansheng aged 10 years. He boarded the train back to his hometown, cradling Lin Su's ashes. I went to see him off, accompanied by my bodyguards. I said to Lin Yuansheng, "Here's 200,000. The extra 100,000 is to buy Lin Su's ashes from you." Lin Yuansheng asked me, puzzled, "What do you want with his ashes?" I replied with a blank expression, "To find a proper burial plot for him. Of course. I raised such a worthless son, forcing me, with my white hair, to bury my own child." Lin Yuansheng sighed. After a moment's hesitation, he handed me Lin Su's urn. I drove to a stagnant, abandoned ditch. I had no intention of letting Lin Su rest in peace. I scattered his ashes into that foul ditch. The ashes scattered and fell into the gutter. A scumbag like that deserves to have his ashes scattered to the wind. With that scourge Lin Su out of the picture, I poured all my energy into starting my own business. In my past life, Lin Su and I built a business empire worth hundreds of millions. With the entrepreneurial experience from my past life, I navigated this one with ease, building a fortune worth billions. My business kept growing, and life was smooth sailing. Another year on the anniversary of Lin Su's passing, I was drinking red wine on the balcony of my villa. Mom called, and she tentatively asked, Ran, are you busy with work? When are you going to bring a boyfriend home for your parents to meet?" I shook my head with a smile. "Haven't met the right one yet," Mom said earnestly. "Well, as long as you're happy, that's what matters. Your dad and I won't pressure you about it anymore." The flowers in the garden were in full bloom. Even on my own, life felt peaceful and content. Story 2. I chased after Shi Jing, the campus heartthrob from humble beginnings, for a whole year, spending lavishly and making a complete fool of myself in pursuit. Finally managed to win over this unattainable prince who stood as aloof as pines and bamboos. But at my birthday banquet, where I first introduced him publicly, he shielded some delicate scholarship student like a white lotus, then dumped an entire bottle of red wine on me in front of everyone. Before I could recover from the shock and fury, lines of text materialized midair. "Serves her right. The male lead's rebirth arc demands brutal payback against that villainess. The wheel of fortune turns. Last lifetime, she drove the heroine to suicide. Now it's her turn. Karma's ___. She had everything yet stole from the FL and bullied her. Dying bankrupt was mercy after what the ML made her suffer." As if to confirm the utter absurdity of the words, Shi Jing shot me a disdainful glance, then tenderly comforted the person in his arms. "Don't be afraid of her. So if she's rich, as long as I'm here, no one will ever bully you again." The delicate girl looked pitifully at him. "Brother, sure. You don't have to stick up for me. I'm used to it." People around me were staring, pointing, and looking at me strangely. I wiped my face. The next second, I swung my arm and slapped them. I rubbed my stinging palm, tucked my hair behind my ear, and sneered. Trying to be a hero. You clearly don't know your place. I've got 2 graves dug right here. Want them? One sticky wine dripped down my hair, which I'd spent an hour meticulously styling. My nominal boyfriend, Sure Jean, had just put down an empty wine bottle 2 minutes ago in an unnoticed corner. Sue Wan stood before me, a beaming smile on her face, dressed in a cheap knockoff of my gown. Jean, we share the same birthday. Yet because you're rich, everyone only remembers you. Sometimes I really envy you. So today, I'm giving you a grand gift. With that, she raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face. The sharp sound of the slap drew everyone's attention. She fell to the ground, looking pitifully vulnerable. Sure Jean was the first to arrive. Without hesitation, he grabbed a bottle of red wine and splashed it all over me. It drenched me from head to toe. I stared at Sure Jean in disbelief. The dark red stain ruined my carefully planned birthday party like a jagged, dividing scar. I was going to announce our relationship at this very party. I'd even prepared expensive gifts and surprises for him at my own birthday party. Yet at this moment, Sure Jean was shielding Sue Wan protectively, cradling her like a long-lost treasure. My hands trembled violently. It wasn't just from heartbreak and my disheveled state. It was also because of the sudden appearance of scrolling lines of bright red text right before my eyes. Well done. After his rebirth, the male lead finally saw the wicked female antagonist for who she truly is. What goes around comes around. Last life. She drove the female lead to suicide. This life. It's her turn. Serves her right. She had everything and still stole from the female lead, bullying her relentlessly. Dying bankrupt was too good for her. My heart aches for the poor heroine. If that scheming side character hadn't stolen her scholarship, she wouldn't have been forced to take such desperate measures. I tentatively took a step forward as if to confirm the absurd barrage of comments before my eyes. Su Jing shot me a disdainful glance while shielding Su Inwan more protectively. He comforted the sobbing girl in his arms. Don't be afraid of her. So what if she's rich? Does money give her the right to bully others? As long as I'm here, no one can harass you. I stared at Su Jing, my hands trembling violently. You're saying I bullied her? Su Jing's disgust deepened. What else? You think she slapped herself across the face? Su Inwan leaned against Su Jing and at the opportune moment lifted her pitiful, tear-filled face. Her eyes red-rimmed. Jiang isn't doing this on purpose. It's all my fault for wearing the same dress as her. I'm so sorry, Jiang. I just wanted to dress nicely to celebrate your birthday. She choked back a sob. Sure. You don't have to stick up for me. If Jiang minds, let her vent. I've always known she has issues with poor people like us. I'm used to it. The people around them exchanged strange looks. The chirping of crickets from all directions had never been so clear. So what if they wore the same outfit? Is there any need to throw such a fit? Miss Jiang Fushua's temperament isn't exactly new. She's been chasing Su Jing for ages, even breaking up his childhood sweethearts. But Su Jing still has feelings for Su Inwan. So how could she possibly be happy? Still, that's no excuse to bully someone like that. Su Inwan was nestled in my boyfriend's arms. She looked up at me and silently mouthed, Miss Rich Girl. See, who'd believe you're innocent? 2. I stared straight at Su Jing. He'd clearly overheard the whispers around us. Yet he showed not a shred of trust in me. He just glared at me as if I'd committed some unforgivable sin. Exactly like the villainess described in those barrage comments. Are those bullet comments for real? My heart sank to the depths. I pursued Shurjing for a year. I spared no expense, put in all the effort, and did everything a simp would. From my best friend's confusion to the entire school's teasing, Shurjing remained unfazed. My best friend, Bai Yuan, once scolded me. Exasperated. I haven't seen him refuse any of your gifts, though. Okay. He hasn't sold them for cash, either. So, he's not exactly a gold digger. But his heart only beats for that childhood sweetheart, who's also from a poor family. Why are you, a rich young lady, getting involved? You're just making a fool of yourself. Of course, I know all about Shurjing and Su Ingwan being childhood sweethearts. Everyone's talking about it. But I can't help it. I really like this type. Because he's untainted by the muck. With a character as steadfast as a pine and as upright as bamboo. He constantly says he doesn't like anyone. His emotions are pure. And unlike his mother, who was a kept woman and took shortcuts to latch onto rich men, he possesses a clean, powerful drive to change his life through learning. I'm truly captivated by him. So, even when Shurjing approached me 3 days ago, holding his mother's exorbitant credit card bill in a strange and awkward manner, I agreed readily, even admiring his pure-hearted filial devotion. It never crossed my mind that he'd strayed so soon from the very qualities that first drew me to him. That pretentious attitude, playing the businessman while putting on airs of superiority, was exactly what I despised most. Wiping the alcohol from my eyes felt like clearing away the fog before me. Fingertips turned ice cold. If those bullet comments were telling the truth, he's been reborn. Would he still take revenge and ruin me? How dare they? Just because he's the male lead and I'm the villainess. I gave everything. Money. Effort. Even my heart, and this is what I deserve. Rage exploded in my chest like dynamite. Screw your noble virtues. To hell with being a damsel in distress. A sharp, resounding slap brutally cut off the whispers. The force of it made Shurjing's handsome face snapped to the side, leaving clear red finger marks. The entire place fell silent. Without hesitation, I grabbed another open champagne bottle from the nearby table and poured it straight over Shurjing and Suyin Lan's heads. Ah! Suyin Lan's shriek shattered the silence. Rubbing my stinging palms, I slicked my soaked hair behind my ears. Meeting the crowd's stunned gazes, I sneered. Playing hero for whom? You. Know your place. I've got 2 graves here. Want M3. Holy crap. Doesn't the villainess love the male lead? Why isn't she playing by the rules? Honestly, I kind of like the villainess's crazy streak. It's no wonder the male lead failed miserably because of her in this last life. Shurjing shivered, jolted by the icy liquid. As if only just snapping back to reality, he stared at me in disbelief, clutching his swollen cheek. Jiang Fushiu. How dare you hit me? How could you bring yourself to? Bring myself to? I advanced relentlessly, delivering another backhanded slap before switching to alternating strikes until his face was symmetrically red. Didn't your canary mother teach you a kept man's manners? Truly a pig that wallows in its own filth. Living off me. Spending my money to pay your mother's debts. Yet you had the gall to throw wine at me. Trash. You got a death wish. Suyin shrieked. Jiang. How dare you humiliate people like this? I backhanded her without breaking stride. Got so caught up hitting him. I nearly forgot you. Me bullying you. You'd better pray I actually was bullying you before, because starting today, I'll show you what real bullying looks like. Life's going to be as easy as flipping pancakes. Slap left. Slap right. Are you saying I bullied her and drove her to suicide? Don't be ridiculous. I'm not psychotic enough to take someone's life. Especially not someone who couldn't measure up to me in anything. From academic performance to family background. What makes Sue and want worthy of me lowering my head to speak to her? Even if she's her James' childhood friend. I never gave her a second glance. Yet. She's the one sniveling about her disadvantages. Hinting to everyone that she only loses to me because I have connections. Give me a break. My family didn't manipulate anything. From the national scholarships to the competition results. I rolled my eyes. Did you all hear that? Anyone who feels sorry for this male sugar baby and his childhood sweetheart can bear witness for me today. Shurjing and I are a fair match. I said, spreading my hands. He's after money and I'm after looks. Consider this past year my gift to him. Just don't badmouth me behind my back anymore. A person can be blind once, but they shouldn't have to be disgusted twice. Okay. The crowd fell silent. My bestie was the first to snap out of it. Aaron shoved Shurjing aside and gleefully pulled me along. That's more like it. I told you his zodiac clashes with yours. Glorifying men only brings a lifetime of bad luck. I followed by Aaron as she turned to leave. The barrage exploded even faster than Shurjing's reaction. Why is the supporting female leaving? This isn't how the plot goes. She's supposed to give the male lead her black card at the birthday party. How's the male lead going to catch this investment wave without seed money? This is the crucial moment to buy that stock at rock bottom and build his first capital. Chill. The supporting female's head over heels for him. Just wait. She'll come crawling back with puppy eyes any minute now. I glanced at the bullet comments, took the silk scarf from her hand, and roughly wiped my hair with it. It was tangled. I yanked off the hair clip, letting my hair fall over my shoulders. I casually swept my messy bangs back and tucked them behind my ears. The click-clack of high heels echoed on the ground. I said coldly, I'll have your supplementary card frozen. Get your trash out of the villa before tonight. Shurjing's eyes reddened. His gaze held disbelief, humiliation, and resentment. all condensing into one resolute declaration. Fine. I won't take a single cent from you. Jiang Fushue. Don't you dare regret this. His unyielding resilience, like the pure breeze and bright moon, stood tall as a steadfast pine, still as captivating as ever. Bai Aaron declared loudly. Four-legged toads are rare, but two-legged men are everywhere. Who cares about regrets? Fushue. Let's change and celebrate somewhere else. Don't let this ruin the mood. My treat. Who's coming? The crowd surged forward, following Bai Aaron and me, leaving Su Jing and Suing completely ignored. I grasped her hand gratefully. Bai Aaron winked at me with a playful grin. That's what sisters are for. She'd seen right through me. Every heartbeat with compassion. Tough talk won't help. Stop being stubborn. That was a whole year. A year of my blood, sweat, and tears. How could I not feel heartbroken? 4. Inside the luxurious Japanese onsen-themed pavilion, Bai Aaron and I sat by the massive crystal floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the emerald green mountain ranges. The freshly airshipped black pearl still glistened with moisture. The supporting female character only moped for a week and doesn't seem to be going after the male lead. Is this how it's supposed to be? Ah. Our poor male lead is suffering so much. That heartless supporting female took back his credit card. Now he's working 3 jobs to pay his mom's debts, living on instant noodles for 3 days straight. At least the female lead is sticking by him. Just some dirty money. Let that supporting female enjoy it while she can. The male lead's got that reincarnated dragon protagonist script. Her comeuppance is coming. Bai Aaron waved her hand in front of my eyes. What's wrong? You look terrible. Still upset about your Jane. I rested my chin in my hand, stroking it thoughtfully. My other hand slowly tapped on the table. Bai Aaron shivered. That look on your face. It's exactly how I looked when I seized the family fortune and dealt with my good-for-nothing brother. Creepy. Before she could finish, I suddenly broke into a genuine smile. Ran. Has your brother returned from abroad? If I remember correctly, he specializes in biology. Right. Yes. Her eyes lit up. He actually mentioned wanting to meet you. He's always been fascinated by you. Says it's impressive how you took over the family business at such a young age. I sighed sincerely. I'd been equally curious about him, fascinated by his biological research. Is this scrolling barrage projected directly onto retinas using VR tech or brainwave signals? If we crack this technology, can it be monetized? Bai Aaron said. You've finally come to your senses. I nodded. Yeah. They threw mud at me and I insisted on using that mud to plant flowers. She looked puzzled. I handed her my business card with a mysterious air. I want to meet your brother. Stop mumbling and speak plainly. You riddle monger. Just forcing a smile while the male lead will never love you. Trying to make him jealous. That won't work on the male lead. I stared at the scrolling barrage of comments. A radiant smile that dawned with glacial slowness. A smile that chilled the bones. Affection isn't something you can simply forget in a heartbeat. But time has a way of softening its edges. Only I and my interests are eternal. I raised my glass with disdain. Then I drank the amber liquid in my cup. 5. I had a meeting scheduled with Bai Aaron's brother, Bai Hoen, at a coffee shop. The young man sat across from me, impeccably dressed. His shirt buttoned primly to the very top. The faint scent of disinfectant cut through the week's accumulated stickiness. He wore rimless glasses and extended a hand to shake mine. I got straight to the point. Hello, Professor Bai. I'm Ran's friend. I assume she's already told you why I'm here. We're both straightforward people, so I'll just get right to it. Professor Bai. Does this world possess technology capable of projecting language directly onto a person's retina in real time? Bai Huan replied calmly. I'm afraid not. Miss Jiang. Given the current biological constraints of carbon-based life forms and our technological limitations, we cannot invade neural pathways to achieve real-time retinal projection. I said with grave seriousness. But what if I really can see it? What's happening? System glitch. Can the supporting female character actually see us? So, what if she sees us? What's she going to do? Come at me if you dare. Bai Huan calmly adjusted his glasses. A dangerous glint flickered in his mesmerizing eyes. He murmured. Miss Zhang's brainwaves. Now those are truly worth studying. I casually pulled out a stack of documents from my bag. This is my recent EEG report. I took a sip of coffee. And here's my project proposal. If we collaborate, we could crack this technology. The potential is huge. You'd contribute your expertise for 15% equity. Fair enough. Bai Huan studied me intently before curling his lips. Aren't you afraid, Miss Jiang? My smile never reached my eyes. I'm a businesswoman. I can chase someone foolishly for a year, but never at the cost of my own interests. Bai Huan accepted the proposal cheerfully. You've misunderstood, Miss Jiang. I simply admire your competence, he said. You're becoming increasingly fascinating to me. Lower dimensional beings. Speechless. These two insignificant ants biting off more than they can chew. The male lead has already seized the advantage after his rebirth, while the villainess remains clueless that Jiang Corporation's 2 lifeline investment projects are about to be snatched away. Aren't they? As this barrage comment appeared, my phone's emergency alert tone suddenly rang out. Jiang. Mr. Jiang. Secretary Lin from Fengwei Group just called saying there's a college student named Su Jing who showed up with a bid proposal identical to ours. But that's supposed to be top secret. My usually composed chief secretary's voice was filled with panic. 6. The villainess must be panicking now. Huh. This kind of reborn. Seizing the initiative. Face-slapping Mary Sue's story is just so satisfying. The chief secretary continued. Su Jing is waiting for you at the company right now. He said he has something to tell you. I grabbed my bag, politely bid Bai Huan farewell, and headed to the office. On the elevator right up to the CEO's office on the top floor, I weighed the bag in my hand. What a shame. A platinum Birkin. Not suitable for hitting people. The elevator door slid open with a whisper. Su Jing lounged effortlessly across the parlor sofa. I still remember not long ago, before he came begging me to pay off his mother's credit card debt, when he perched on my villa's handcrafted Italian leather sofa. His stiff posture and rigid spine betrayed his discomfort amidst this world of luxury. Genuine youthful innocence. But now, he stands unshaken like a veteran who's weathered countless storms. Even in that studentish shirt and cheap slacks, he carries himself with quiet confidence. Why did you block me? I clenched my teeth, barely stopping myself from smashing my bag in his face. That's all you've got to say. Security. Su Jing lifted his chin defiantly. Don't bother calling security. I'll leave on my own. You think I wanted to come here? With an arrogant smirk of triumph, Su Jing declared. Jiang Fushue. I came to inform you. I'll fight the Jiang Corporation to the bitter end. I know all about your schemes. When your empire crumbles, we'll see how high and mighty you remain. I handed my bag to my assistant and beckoned with a curled finger. Damn right it's impressive. How'd you know? Come closer. Skip the civil mediation. I'll slap another 50 grand's worth onto you. Behave. And I'll throw in an extra 50 grand for emotional damages. Help your kept woman mom pay off her maxed out credit cards. Again. Su Jing's cheek twitched. A nerve had been struck. He glared at me with misplaced superiority, conveniently omitting how he'd been scraping by lately. Jiang Fushui. You're always like this. Acting all high and mighty. As if you're doing someone a favor. Get this straight. I'm the one who knows about your bid now. You should be begging me. I remained calm. Who's begging whom? What do you want? If Bai Yiran were here, she'd definitely say it for me. Su Jing is dead meat. The last person who threatened me was my brother, who was fighting me for the family inheritance. He's been dead and buried for ages. Su Jing, however, clearly misunderstood. He looked at me, now calm and seemingly just bluffing, with a complicated expression, a mix of nostalgia and inner conflict. After a long pause, he sighed. Fushui, I know you still have feelings for me, and you're angry about what I did that day, but you completely humiliated me that day. I didn't actually want to destroy you. If you'd just shown some humility, I couldn't have brought myself to hurt you. After all, we were together for so long. I cut him off bluntly. So long. 3 days counts as so long. Losing patience, I signaled my chief assistant to drag him away. 3 days. Try 3 years. I said pointedly. The moment you threw that drink for someone else, you were already rotten to the core. Su Jing instinctively shielded his face. You threw one back at me, too. Didn't you? I spat out 2 words with contempt. Not enough. I tilted my head slightly. Know your place. Cut the nonsense. Want me to regret it? I'll see this through to the end. Now. Get out. Immediately. The security guards escorted Su Jing out, practically dragging him away. Turning back to my office, I dialed the legal department of Jiang Group. I'm getting more and more confused by this plot. How did the supporting female lead suddenly fall out of love with the male lead? No lingering feelings at all. How heartless. Truly living up to her role as the villainess. What's that supporting character up to now? What are you trying to do? Half an hour later. I hung up the phone. Glancing at the floating barrage comments, I let out a scornful chuckle. Call yourselves higher dimensional beings. Can't even grasp something this simple. I replied nonchalantly with a smile. Just making some small preparations while waiting for him to come begging. 666. Starting your daydreams before sunset. Look. I know you can be a real pain sometimes. But seriously. Don't mess with the male lead. He's got plot armor. If you just humble yourself a bit. Make up with him. And help him reach the top. Wouldn't you benefit? 2. Benefit. I pressed my fist to my mouth as if I'd just heard the funniest joke. Benefits. The cake is only so big. I can eat it all myself. So, why should I cut it for others and be at their mercy? Is he some kind of chosen one? I'll try being a chosen one myself. 7. A month later. Still in the top floor office of the Jian Group building. I arched an eyebrow at the disheveled Chu Jing across from me. He'd lost considerable weight. His posture no longer as ramrod straight. My eyes flicked to the barrage of comments. CEO Lin of Furui Group actually rejected the male lead's bidding proposal. The male lead has hit a wall 5 times in a row. Sigh. A wise man knows when to yield. I get why he's crawling back to the villainous now. That black card and her endorsement are just too valuable to pass up. I couldn't help but let out an unkind chuckle. You can't teach someone by just telling them. Experience teaches best. One lesson is enough. Does rebirth guarantee a head start? Money and power in this world spread like a virus. Only transmitted through mother to child. Sexual contact. And blood. You know it's profitable. You know it's a hot commodity. Why should it be you? You want to take on 2 of my Jiang family's projects. Stop daydreaming. After being politely or sarcastically turned away by various companies and facing repeated rejections, he finally came to his senses. Stripped of his former swaggering confidence, he wiped his face in humiliation as if making some resolute decision. Could you give me a small investment? I'll pay you back with interest. I said teasingly. Jiang Fushue. Don't say I didn't warn you. I wouldn't take a penny from you. Think money makes you special. I didn't even want to come here in the first place. I repeated his bold declaration. Need me to say it again? Su Jing gritted his teeth. I know you're angry. Just invest in me and I'll take whatever you dish out. Hold it. I snapped his proposal shut with a sharp clap. What exactly is our relationship now? Su Jing looked at me with complicated emotions. I'll be your obedient boyfriend. A smirk curled my lips. Then I snatched the proposal and hurled it straight at his face. Amid the fluttering papers, I sneered. Dream on. Su Jing. We're just classmates. This pathetic proposal. I could write better blindfolded. And you expect me to invest in this garbage? I raised an eyebrow. Our flimsy schoolmate connection hardly warrants me handing you a life-changing sum just for your little whims. Su Jing panicked, bending down to gather the scattered documents. Whether he was reassembling papers or salvaging his dignity remained unclear. His eyes darkened. Jiang Fushue. I admit I need you. Happy now. Stop being petty. I'm desperate for this money. I watched him pack up with cold eyes, offering a blunt assessment of his inexplicable confidence. You're just as despicable as your mother. The one who became a kept woman and then deluded herself into thinking she could climb the ranks by getting pregnant and forcing her way in. Su Jing's hands froze. His hand slipped and the document fell to the floor again. His shoulders trembled and his eyes were red. You never used to be like this. How could you say such things to me? I said coolly. Are you stuck living in the past? Seems it's more than just the past. It's that distant previous life I cherished when I basked in wealth and privilege. He glared at me, abandoning the scattered papers as he straightened up and stormed off. I'll make you respect me. Jiang Fushue. We'll see about that. Su Jing staggered away, twirling my pen. A plan suddenly formed in my mind. He's really putting in the effort. I'm almost feeling bad for him. Let him make some final contributions. I summoned my chief secretary and whispered. Trash belongs in the dump. Aren't there still some pieces of garbage on the board that my brother used to cozy up to? See if we can arrange them all at the same table. The willing bite the hook. The chief secretary caught my drift and shuddered. I casually dropped that line and turned to the barrage comments. They were scrolling at lightning speed. That's so insulting. Truly. Utterly insulting. The male lead made a huge decision before coming to see you. He's such a proud person. Do you know how much he sacrificed? Die. You wicked female antagonist. I intently enjoyed the barrage of insults aimed at me. Only after the chief secretary left did I grin. Are you mad? You've been annoyed with me for so long. Why haven't you punished me yet? Is it because you don't want to? The barrage of comments fell eerily silent for a moment. I savored the rare clear screen. Oh. So you can't. After I kicked Su Jing out last time, I had someone put him on the blacklist. How dare he still waltz in and out of Jiang Corporation so freely and appear before me? Because I allowed it. Obviously. I just wanted to see if these high-tech dimension bullet comments could actually do anything beyond empty talk. The results speak for themselves. Higher dimensional beings. I sneered openly. My voice sharp with contempt. Just a bunch of pathetic peeping toms. Stop pretending you're special. Since you can't protect him. So tell me. Can you even protect yourselves? My smile widened. Bright with mock curiosity. How fascinating. The email icon blinked from a day ago. Bai Wen and I have made progress on our Project 8 since that day. The barrage comments fell eerily silent except for the occasional sporadic messages. What can lower dimensional beings possibly do to us? The protagonist got rejected. Again. What the hell? This is so unsatisfying. I clicked expecting an overpowered protagonist. But instead I see him working morning shifts at a convenience store, cafeteria gigs at noon, and dishwashing at night. The protagonist seems to have such miserable luck and his fortune stat keeps dropping. I don't know if Su Jing is having a tough time. Anyway, I just poured another $1 million into the investment. Lying on the king-size, custom-made mattress in my private dorm. I opened my email to check on the latest research progress and while I was at it, took Bai Wen's video call. He pushed up his glasses and smiled. Is the information clear enough? I couldn't help but go through it again. A genuine smile spreading across my face. Truly professional work. The progress has skyrocketed over these 2 months. This document thoroughly analyzes and presents possible origins of Danmaku with comprehensive evidence. Bai Wen spoke calmly. Simply put, Danmaku can be understood as players from the three-dimensional world observing the two-dimensional realm through wave resonance. They achieve quantum projection of partial consciousness with the resonance stability stemming from the delicate balance between underlying information entropy and spacetime curvature. Due to some anomaly, your brainwaves now resonate at the same frequency as the barrage comments, making them visible to you. We developed methods to disrupt and even control this data stream. Don't overanalyze this. The author's just making stuff up. I nodded in understanding. That anomaly must be Su Jing's reincarnation. Now I really don't know whether to call Shi Jing lucky or unlucky. I explained. It looks like we can make a killing from this. I should even thank Shi Jing for this. Bai Xian chuckled. Miss Jiang. You truly are a fascinating person. Hearing Bai Xian's serious tone, I couldn't help but steal a couple more glances at him. The dappled light filtering through the sycamore leaves quietly accompanied him. Bai Xian typed on his keyboard. His voice taking on an eerie tone. If it's possible. A cold glint flashed off his glasses. I'd love to dissect him and study him. My mouth twitched. Bai Xian smiled faintly. Just kidding. I'm not some mad scientist. By the way, Ran told me you'd been nominated for this year's national scholarship again. Yeah. Congratulations. His tone was a little hesitant. Perhaps to celebrate your scholarship nomination and project progress, I could treat you to. The dorm door was pounding with urgent knocks. The force shook the entire door frame. Something clearly couldn't wait. I motioned to Bai Xian to hold that thought. Hastily getting up to answer, I stared in astonishment at the figures before me. It was Su Wan and Su Jing 9. My eyes immediately locked onto Su Wan. Su Jing trailed behind her, gaze averted like some awkward afterthought. Su Wan bit her lower lip, looking utterly pitiful. Jiang. I have something I need to talk to you about. Could I come in? My expression was odd. Come in. Su Wan got straight to the point. Dropping to her knees with a thud, she tugged at my sleeve, looking up at me. Jiang. Could you please let me have the national scholarship? Su Wan was another nominee. With tearful eyes, she pleaded. I'm not competing with you for anything else. Just this one thing. I want to study art abroad. And this is my only chance. I know you're wealthy. This money and honor mean nothing to you. Please don't fight me for this opportunity. Just this once. Okay. Su Jing tugged at Su Wan's sleeve. But she wouldn't budge. I lowered my head, cutting off Suyin Wan's wailing. In what capacity are you speaking to me right now? As someone asking for a favor? A classmate? Or a poor soul who suffered a great injustice and is fighting against it? I pushed Suyan away. It seems you neither see me as just another classmate, nor do you have the right attitude for someone asking for a favor. So, why are you even here? Just to be a masochist? Isn't this the part where you cry and say, "Let's see who believes me now"? Suyan stumbled from the forceful shove, sobbing harder. She stole a glance at Shurjin through tearful eyes. Ji-won. I was wrong. I'm apologizing. It's my fault. But I was just so scared. You're wealthy, academically gifted. Everyone expects you to win the national scholarship. I desperately need that money. It's my only chance to chase my dreams. There's nothing wrong with pursuing your dreams. So, if you're not wrong, then I am. Her logic completely stumped me. I instinctively reached for the transcript lying on the table. National scholarships are based on this. Prove yourself with your grades. I'm not your mother. Why should I coddle you? Suyeon faltered, her eyes darting around. But you were born into the G1 family. You have no idea what it's like for us who don't have money. How hard it is to get a chance to pursue our dreams and change our fate. I remained unmoved, shoving the transcript in her face, knowing she was in the wrong. Suyeon ignored me and instead turned to grab Shurjin's arm. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded. Brother Shur. Say something. I know you're close with Ji-won. Could you ask them to help me? Shurjin looked pale and gaunt. His haggard appearance worsened by poor eating and sleeping habits. His gaze shifted between the distraught Suyeon and my radiant self before he suddenly turned away in visible anguish, refusing to meet my eyes. Suyeon's face turned deathly pale as she tugged pleadingly at his sleeve. Shurjin finally turned back, his lips parting slightly. I sneered sarcastically. What? Expecting my respect? Sujing flushed crimson, choking back his words. He hung his head and pulled Suyin-won away. Let's go. I'll help you figure something out. There's always a way. We don't need to beg her. Something in those words struck a nerve with Suyin-won. She snapped. She screamed, shoving Sujing away. Don't touch me. Do you even know the registration deadline is next month? Figure something out. That's all you ever say. Where do you get this confidence? Stop acting like you've lived some privileged life. It's easy to talk when you're not the one struggling. I can't believe I actually fell for your I'll be rich act. I've been eating instant noodles and working odd jobs with you every single day. I called you Brother Sue. We grew up together and you wouldn't even say a word for me in front of her. What good are you anyway? Suyin-won shot Sujing and me a venomous look. Seeing there was no chance of me agreeing, she quickly got up, pushed open the door, and ran out. The male lead claimed he took the female lead's savings for overseas studies for an investment, but his mom found out and spent it all. It's no wonder the female lead is devastated. Poor female lead. The male lead seems a bit unreliable, doesn't he? At the end of the day, it's all that supporting female character's fault. She deserves to die. If she'd just given the male lead the money, none of this would have happened. Watching this farce unfold, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I told Sujing. Turns out being a hero isn't easy. Screw up and you're just a laughingstock. Don't get cocky just because you've had a lucky break. You little weasel. True. There are still visionary investors who recognized the male lead's potential and backed him during this period. The progress is just a bit slower. That's all. Just wait until the leads reconcile. It'll prove you completely wrong. Sujing looked utterly devastated. The once stately Pine seemed to slump as he was about to speak. When Bai He-wen's abrupt voice came through the still active video call. When two selfish people get together, it's no surprise what kind of mess they'll make. He kicked her. Jiang. Shur Jiang's head snapped towards his phone. His face slowly contorted as if he just had a sudden, profound realization. He seemed to have found a reason to convince himself. This reason eerily injected him with a vitality named jealousy and madness. Jiang Fushue. So you have a new lover. Is it because of him that you don't like me as much anymore? Bai Huan, with his hands clasped and chin resting on them, smiled during the video call. What business is it of yours? Do you even deserve to be compared to me? I glanced at Shur Jiang, not denying Bai Huan's little scheme. And with that, Shur Jiang was promptly shown the door. Shur Jiang panted like an ox, sputtering 3 furious fine-s in succession. Fine. 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 The door slammed shut with a bang. I flashed Bai Huan a knowing smile through the video call, playing dumb as I simply said, "Thanks." Saved me from wasting breath on him. Bai Huan gave a slight nod, lowering his eyes in silence. A profound silence fell over everything. Only the rhythmic clatter of Bai Huan's keyboard remained. 10. After wrapping up my scholarship applications, I turned my full attention to the project I was developing with Bai Huan. Over the past 6 months, Jiang has become a somewhat notorious speculator, with many secretly suspecting he has significant capital backing him. Otherwise, how could he be so well informed? I just smiled and let Jiang do his thing. I heard that after he made his first fortune, Su Yinwan reconciled with him. Bai Huan watched me hunched over my desk, preparing for the press conference on our latest developments, and couldn't resist taking a deep, satisfying slurp of her bubble tea. "How's the press conference prep coming along?" I put my work aside, joined her, and we took a short break, sharing a sip of bubble tea, feeling the full sweetness of the drink. I couldn't help but close my eyes in pure contentment. Everything went smoothly. Bai Yuan picked up her phone, opened the campus forum, pointed to a post, and asked me, "Then why don't you deal with this? Do you need my help?" I waved my hand. "No need. The higher you climb, the harder you fall." Bai Yuan looked at me and suddenly smiled. She said leisurely, "Not at all. Who said our Fusher way is heartless? In me. The tiger sniffs the rose. You've always admired those who strive hard. It's not that the higher you climb, the harder you fall. You simply leave a glimmer of hope for those fighting to better themselves. Don't you? Like how you recently doubled your investment in Jiang Family Scholarship at Q University." Our eyes met. Then I leaned back on the sofa, stretched out, and said coldly, "No. I'm just in a good mood because this press conference will announce the results of the project Bai Yuan and I have been working on. We've achieved a breakthrough, allowing us to control the projection of barrages through a special frequency. I experimented on myself and successfully proved its feasibility. On the day I bid farewell to bullet comments, I flipped them off and drew an ant with a special frequency pattern as my parting gift. Those who see others as ants shall become ants themselves. How does it feel knowing your arrogance has brought boundless wealth to the very ants you despised? What can you possibly do to me? A bunch of clowns." After throwing their words right back at them, I hit the block button without waiting for a response. Damn those bullet comments. You creepy lurkers can go talk to yourselves from now on. With the comment chaos handled, Bai Yuan and I immediately dove into researching how to apply this unique frequency for our purposes in new fields. I can already picture the flood of investment offers that'll come pouring in once we publish our findings. Absolutely thrilling. Compared to these achievements and investments, Jing's little splash is hardly worth mentioning. This wonderful mood is simply delightful. It even made me unusually receptive to Jing's invitation for once. 11. Jing asked me out several times over the past 6 months, but I turned him down every time. I haven't seen him in a long time. He stared at me intently, his eyes growing more distorted, filled with the exhaustion of dealing with various power players. His hand trembled slightly. "You finally agreed to see me. Are you and that person still together?" I stirred my coffee. "What's eating at you? You're still the same. Always greeting me with these pointless, bitter remarks. Has reality been too harsh on you? Do you regret it?" Jing suddenly clenched his fist. "Yes. And no. Jiang Fushue. I'm saying this because we were together for 3 years. I have the means now. So please break up with him." "Okay." I scoffed. 3 years. Was that in a dream? His expression froze. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him squirm with unspoken bitterness. Jing said brokenly, "Jiang Fushue. You can't bear to break up with him, can you? Your cruelty toward me. It's all because of that man, isn't it? I knew you couldn't be this heartless to me. You were supposed to be mine." I didn't mind his nonsensical replies. Instead of following his train of thought, I deliberately twisted the knife. "Yours. Then what about Su Yinwan?" He froze, then raised hopeful eyes burning with intensity. "She's just like a sister to me. I only wanted to protect her from your bullying. There's nothing between us." I raised an eyebrow. "That's not what you said before." Fushue. His eyes were red, like someone who had been working nonstop for some reason and finally couldn't take it anymore. "That's because I didn't want you to look down on me. We, the poor, are born inferior to you. I didn't want to always be beneath you. I wanted to have wealth and the same competence as you. I admit, I got a bit fixated on that. But it's because I love you. And I want to stand beside you as your equal. I suddenly burst out laughing. So, those bullet comments said you lost everything in your past life. 2. Just because you loved me. Shor Jing's pupils constricted abruptly. Picking up my bag, I rose gracefully and patted his cheek with a condescending pity. You never loved me. You loved my money. My power. Only when life slapped you hard enough did you remember my worth. Who knows what karma caught you last lifetime. But greed swallows the snake whole. And I've only ever needed a few methods to handle your kind. Care for an encore this lifetime. Be it fresh grudges or old wounds. Terror flashed in Shor Jing's eyes before freezing into pure dread. Then came the rage. It ended with a complete breakdown. He stared at me blankly. You knew. Fu Shiriyue. I never wanted it to come to this. You knew all along. You forced my hand. You left me no choice. Only by clipping your wings could I make you obey. Isn't that right? I couldn't fathom how his mind made that leap. Maybe I treated him really well in my past life. But that's all in the past now. I turned around. Go get your mental issues treated. A stunted NPD loser who can't even gaslight properly. I sighed. Giving you a chance is just a waste of my time. You want to clip my wings? Go ahead. Try. 12. My press conference went ahead as scheduled. This will be a groundbreaking press conference. Brand new ways of socializing. Groundbreaking ideas for holographic gaming. Revolutionary information storage methods. This frequency has the power to bring boundless wealth and benefit human society. Those who attacked me ultimately became unwitting prophets. Their words turning into the very bricks and mortar of my business empire. My net worth skyrocketed. And for a time, I was unrivaled. Hailed as the most audacious and visionary investor and entrepreneur. The lights of the press conference flickered on amidst the long lenses and short snouts of reporters from all media outlets. Everything was ready. But just as I was about to step onto the stage, something unexpected happened. The reporters in the audience had varied expressions. The crowd was whispering. I immediately spotted Shor Jing and Su Yuan in the audience. Bai Iran stormed backstage. Absolutely furious. I'm going to flay them alive. Fu Shui. I told you not to be so lenient with them. Look at this. I looked at her phone screen. That trending topic was rapidly climbing the charts. It originated from Q University's campus network, spiraled out of control, and went viral. The news about the John family's youngest female CEO bullying a classmate caused quite a stir. My harsh words towards Su Yuan and Shor Jing, in particular, sparked a heated debate among netizens. Wealth without virtue dawn must break on this injustice. Are we ordinary people just meant to be humiliated? What I despise most are bullies. My younger brother developed depression because of school bullying. Those tormentors deserve to be drawn and quartered. Several senior John Corporation directors banded together, launching an internal campaign against my continued tenure, citing confidentiality breaches. Several confidential John Group plans known only to me have been leaked. They're accusing me of criminal conduct. John Group stock prices have been fluctuating wildly in the red zone, showing signs of an impending crash. I gave Bai Iran's hand a reassuring pat. In a panic, she created 5 alt accounts to rant under a post while scrambling to call contacts to take down the trending topic. I gave her a reassuring look. She gradually calmed down. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Right. I was so furious I forgot. You never go into battle prepared." 13. Under the spotlight, I stepped onto the stage. Each step carried quiet confidence. The first microphone thrust forward came with blunt, cutting words. Mr. John, regardless of what you're unveiling today or its potential benefits to humanity, integrity comes first, particularly when you wield technology capable of fabrication, technology that touches on human rights and privacy. Given recent events, how can the public trust you'll genuinely act as a socially responsible entrepreneur? Shor Jing and Su Yuan, their baseball caps tilted up, flashed me challenging smirks. I laughed, too, smiling with unshakable confidence. I reached out and turned off the screen. No comment. The facts speak for themselves. A cacophony of noise erupted. The faint glow of a pinhole camera illuminated the deserted corner. Jing, we share the same birthday. Yet everyone only remembers you because you're rich. Why is that? Sometimes I really envy you. So, today, I'm giving you a big gift. Smack. Smack. Asterisk smack. Smack. Asterisk. The repeated, looping sound of self-inflicted slaps silenced all dissenting voices. All that echoed was the incessant slapping sound. I hit pause. And the screen froze on Suyin-Wan's own hand landing on her face. I smiled. I think the difference between humans and monkeys is that humans use technology, like surveillance. So, Sue, my dear classmate who's trying to expose me, are you really going to twist the truth when you don't even know that? No way. Brother sure said those private restaurants prioritize privacy. There's no surveillance at all. Suyin-Wan's eyes widened in shock. She only realized she'd screamed when the sound escaped her lips. My face remained expressionless. Seems like Jing didn't really know me in our past life. Either. I fought my way out of the Zhang family. How could I possibly leave no trace? I straightened the microphone in front of me, cleared my throat, and feigned shock, returning the jab. Are you talking about Jing? I'm sorry. I'm just so shocked. How are you two so close? This is the very commercial spy I filed a request to investigate just a week ago. The moment the words left my mouth, the quiet press conference erupted like a drop of water hitting hot oil, instantly dissolving into chaos. The wailing of police sirens echoed throughout the venue. It all happened too fast. A well-trained legal team descended, bringing justice with them. Everyone was still reeling when a pair of silver handcuffs clicked onto Su Jing and Suyin-Wan's wrists. Charges include commercial espionage, illegal fundraising. The chief secretary distributed documents to every journalist present. President Jiang filed a police report a week ago. The individuals involved include several Jiang Group shareholders, with Su Jing as the primary suspect. As for Ms. Su, her defamatory rumors and the dissemination of false information exceeding 5000 reposts have caused severe damage to President Jiang and the Jiang Group's reputation. The police report was filed just an hour ago. Out of respect for their past school ties, President Jiang initially sought to avoid escalation. But given the gravity of the situation, he must prioritize accountability for Jiang Group's stock value. I chuckled softly, clapping my hands, like a presumptuous frog seeing daylight. It mistakes the glow for mastery of the game. The hunter's true net had been cast far and wide since Su Jing last came begging. An inescapable web woven long ago. Now we simply bide our time, waiting to extract maximum value from the prey. Tucking a stray lock behind my ear, I remain utterly composed. Every opportunity was given. The willing bite the hook. From barrage comments to Su Jing, they've all served their purpose to the fullest. Now that everything's been put to good use, the trash should return to the dumpster. I leaned forward and cleared my throat more emphatically. Ladies and gentlemen, we're postponing the launch by half an hour. Let's save our cheers for the groundbreaking technology then. Not waste time on these petty squabbles. I, Jiang Fuxue, am a doer. I don't use flowery language. I will genuinely lead with our cutting-edge technology and let time prove its worth. The audience fell silent once more, then erupted into thunderous applause. In that half hour, some were snapping photos, while others furiously scribbled notes for their articles. It seemed Su Jing and Suyin-Wan are about to get their wish and become celebrities. Su Jing struggled, seemingly bewildered by how things had suddenly come to this. Before he was dragged away, he strained to turn around, his eyes bloodshot like a dying beast, making one last desperate plea. Jiang Fu. His voice abruptly cut off. I raised a hand to my forehead, a faint smile playing on my lips, and mouthed silently. Who gave you permission to challenge me? In that instant, Jing felt as if struck by lightning. He realized everything had been my carefully laid plan all along. All strength drained from his body, leaving only a whispered murmur. I could clearly read the shape of his lips. He said, Jiang Fuxue, you win. You put me back in prison again. I chuckled. My eyes filled with scorn and understanding. I replied, serves you right. So, was this how his last life ended? 2. You haven't made any progress at all. What I fear most is the insatiable greed of fools. What I dread most is the arrogance of the greedy. I dealt with them effortlessly, as if dismissing the most trivial, insignificant matters, and then told the reporters again, I'll see you in half an hour. In these 30 minutes, lives were turned upside down. But why should I care if they live or die? This game, I emerged victorious. I'm the real winner. 14. The product launch went smoothly. Bai Huan and Bai Ran embraced me with the pre-ordered flowers. Bai Ran wedged herself between me and Bai Huan, winked at me playfully, then slipped to stand beside me. Bai Huan and I were standing quite close. Suyin-Wan stood before me, a beaming smile on her face. dressed in a similar, low-quality replica of the gown. One moment. He deliberated for a while, then finished what he'd started to say last time. Miss Jiang. Perhaps to celebrate the success of the launch and our boundless future profits, might I have the honor of taking you out for a meal? I held the flowers, took a deep breath of their fragrance, my eyes narrowing in pleasure, and straightforwardly cut to the chase. To be honest, you're not really my type. Bai Huan lowered his gaze, removing his glasses. But life holds infinite possibilities. I looked into his eyes. The same sharpness, certainty, and confidence mirrored my own. In the end, we had dinner together, but we're not together. In the end, I still couldn't decide whether or not to respond. After all, I really resonated with what Bai Huan said. Life is full of infinite possibilities, isn't it? Let the past fade away. No dwelling on toxic people or pointless drama. My path ahead holds uncharted territory waiting to unfold. Perhaps new faces will appear. Maybe an expansion of the business horizon. Perhaps it's my boundless ambition. Brushing off the snows of yesteryear. The future holds so much more in store for me. Step by arduous step. Story 2. Only after my genius ex-boyfriend passed away did I realize he had been suffering from severe depression all along. I received a letter covered in incomprehensible mathematical formulas and 4 words. For Meng Yao. Returning to 4 years ago. This time it's my turn to find the solution to the problem and dedicate it to him. Preface. News broke that the youngest Fields Medal winner died from depression. The person in the photo had overlapping old and new scars on their wrist, staining the entire pool with blood. The report stated, he has been suffering from severe depression for the past 4 years. I simply couldn't believe that such a heaven-favored prodigy could fall to such a state. I was so heartbroken that I fainted, dreaming of high school days in my half-asleep state. Yet another ultimate mathematical challenge was effortlessly solved by Lu Ye's pen. And I murmured in admiration. Lu Ye, what kind of problem in this world would you consider difficult? Lu Ye gazed ahead silently for 2 seconds. Life. I teased him with a laugh. God. Lu. Your Chinese failed there. Life is a noun, not a problem. At that time, I didn't understand what those 2 words truly meant to him. 4 years ago. That was the year we broke up. 1. I woke up to find myself lying on a classroom desk. Beside me, a pair of pale fingers held a pen writing with fluid grace. I dazedly raised my gaze and saw a profile full of youthful handsomeness. Lu Yi. The hand paused as he stopped writing and glanced sideways at me. Before my brain could fully wake up, I had already recklessly thrown myself forward to hug him. Lu Yi. There are so many things I want to say, but I'm choked with tears. He froze for a few seconds before moving. I thought he was going to struggle, so I instinctively held him tighter. Then I felt a pair of hands gently patting my back, as if to comfort me. What's wrong? I froze for a moment, then cried even louder, just as I wished I could crush Lu Yi into my embrace. A sudden cough exploded like thunder above my head. Ahem. 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 My sobs immediately choked us as my body went rigid. Lu also noticed my stiffness, and the hand on my back changed to give 2 light pats. He explained calmly. Class is starting. See, class is starting. While I was still pondering the meaning of these words, another thunderclap suddenly sounded above my head. Class started 10 minutes ago. The physics teacher's familiar yet unfamiliar gruff voice was right beside my ear. You too. Come with me to the office. 2. I stood in front of Teacher Gao's desk, tactically bowing in apology first. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Teacher. I was wrong. I just had a nightmare. Teacher Gao looked rather speechless. All right. All right. Stand properly and speak while looking up. I stood up, raised my head, and heard old Gao gasp in shock. Ahem. Well, how about this? You go home and rest today, and we'll talk about anything else tomorrow. I couldn't have asked for more. Grabbing Lu Yi, who was standing nearby, I said, thank you, teacher. Goodbye then. Before I could turn around, I saw old Gao glaring at my hand with wide eyes. Guiltily, I withdrew my hand from Louis's grasp, let out an awkward laugh, and pushed him out the door. On our way back to the classroom, before I could speak, Louis suddenly stopped in his tracks. Wait here for me. I was puzzled and looked at him in confusion. His gaze swept across my face. Your eyes are swollen. Remembering how my eyes puff up walnut shells whenever I cry, I quickly covered them with my hands. Through the gaps between my fingers, I saw Louis enter the men's restroom nearby, emerging moments later with a neatly folded handkerchief in his hand. He handed me the dampened, cool handkerchief. "This will feel more comfortable if you apply it." I took the handkerchief and thanked him, then heard him say, "I'll go get your school bag for you." I stood rooted to the spot, staring blankly at his retreating figure as my eyes grew moist again. Louis, who's always so gentle. Why on earth would someone like him suffer from depression? 3. I spent the whole night researching, trying to understand what depression feels like. Oppression, loss of interest, insomnia, helplessness, despair. Every description I read stabs at my heart. Yet in my eyes, none of these seemed to have anything to do with Louis. Since entering school, Louis had always been out of sync with everyone else. He began participating in national and international math competitions at age 6, never once defeated, and had been known as a child prodigy since childhood. By his first year of high school, he had already received invitations from top universities like Stanford and Princeton, frequently attending academic conferences we couldn't even begin to understand. He carries too many halos, isolating everyone around him. As everyone at school describes, Louis is like an exiled immortal untouched by worldly affairs. Hence the nickname God Louis. The only reason I have any connection with this deity is because I was fortunate enough to be his deskmate since freshman year. I had a crush on him, but only mustered the courage to actually speak to him in the second semester of freshman year. Even after getting together with him, I could only talk to him more. We never even held hands. If I had to describe our relationship in one word, it would be platonic. The only time either of us overstepped boundaries was during the breakup. I've always looked up to him, so I never knew. When I rushed into his arms crying in class, it turned out he would hold me instead of pushing me away. 4. The next day at school, my eyes were even more swollen. Old Gal was startled. "You little girl. Don't tell me you're heartbroken." My dad and Old Gal were high school classmates, so we're quite close in private. "Stop teasing me. I'm not dating anyone. How could I be heartbroken?" Old Gal burst into laughter. "It's adolescence. Teachers understand. Especially since Lou is so outstanding." My heart skipped a beat as Old Gal suddenly changed the subject. "But, main girl, did you know Louis has already been accepted early by Princeton?" Of course I knew. In my past life, Louis went to Princeton for college. As for me, no matter how hard I tried, I only got into a top domestic university, worlds apart from Princeton. So, main girl, if you really start dating early, you're in for some hard times. I walked out of Old Gal's office clenching my fists. Damn it. Old Gal actually thought I had a secret crush and hinted that this relationship wouldn't work out. Little did he know, following last life's timeline, I'd be together with Louis in just 2 months. Right now, I'm indeed not together with Louis yet. But that's just a matter of time. I curved my lips and returned to the classroom, lying on the desk staring blankly at the empty seat beside me. Louis doesn't need to take the college entrance exam and can often skip school. Sigh. Such are the privileges of genius. During the second class break, just as I was regretting forgetting to ask Louis for his contact information yesterday, my best friend came knocking. "Yao Yao." Yuan Wan darted in front of me, leaning down without bothering to lower her voice. "Yao Yao. I heard you forcibly hugged God Lu." My eyes widened in shock as I immediately raised my hand to cover her mouth, never expecting her to grab my wrist instead. "Don't get worked up. Don't get worked up." I desperately signaled her with my eyes. "Don't talk nonsense." Yuan Wan. That idiot completely misunderstood. She leaned close to my ear and asked excitedly, "Did you confess to God Lu?" I met Lu Yiting's clear gaze behind Yuan Wan. "Quick question. Would sacrificing my best friend work in this situation?" 5. I wonder if Lu heard it or not. I pretended nothing had happened and greeted him, but he just nodded indifferently, as if he wasn't the one who had taken me home yesterday. Many times in the past, I was intimidated by his coldness like this, but this time, when it came to the afternoon PE class, I pulled him towards the small grove behind the sports field. "Louis, I have something to tell you." On the way, I remembered the day in my past life when Louis and I confirmed our relationship. That evening during class self-study, I was just turning to ask Louis for help with a difficult math problem. Just as Louis turned his head and leaned close to me, the entire teaching building suddenly lost power. The whole class fell silent for a moment, then erupted into chaotic uproar, with many people excitedly pounding their desks and shouting, The desk behind me knocked against my chair, making me stagger sideways, only to be steadied by Louis. In the darkness, I lifted my head and my lips brushed against his cheek. The hand supporting my arm stiffened slightly, and amidst the surrounding clamor, all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. As if possessed, I said, "Louis, let's be together." Only after speaking did I realize what I had just said. Flushing crimson, I tried to pull away and cover it with a joke, but Louis held me firmly in place. He said, "Okay." I don't know when Louis started liking me, but I know I couldn't forget about him for the next 4 years. Once you've liked Louis, you can never like anyone else again. I stopped under a big tree in a deserted corner and turned to ask him, "Did you hear Yunwan's last words?" Louis nodded. If what she said was true, would you agree?" Louis looked at me and remained silent for a moment, then spoke in a very solemn tone. "I will." I suddenly let out a sigh of relief and smiled. "Louis, let's be together." 6. After he recovered, my eyes inexplicably welled up with tears again. "Louis, I had a nightmare last night. Remembering the image of him lying cold in the bathtub in my past life, I couldn't help but hold his hand to draw warmth. I dreamed that a very close friend of mine was seriously ill but didn't tell me and left on their own. In a voice almost pleading, I asked cautiously, "Louis, if you ever get sick in the future, you must tell me." "Okay." Louis paused for a moment, but answered without hesitation. "Okay." I wanted to relax and smile, but the corners of my lips trembled instead. "Cold." He was about to take off his school jacket when I raised my hand to stop him. I shook my head. "Not cold. But my eyes hurt a little. Could you blow on them for me?" I tilted my head up toward him, eyes open and smiling as I waited for him to act. Louis blinked, behaving uncharacteristically obedient. The moment he slightly lowered his head, I stood on tiptoe and pressed a kiss to his lips. Our first kiss across 2 lifetimes. Brief as a touch, gone in an instant. See, this is a girlfriend's privilege. Watching Louis's dazed expression, I felt quite pleased. Just as I was about to pull away, Louis suddenly lifted his eyelids and wrapped his arm around my waist. Seen up close, his eyes were more dazzling than in Galaxy. Power is mutual after speaking. He lowered his head and gave me an awkward yet deep kiss. 7. I noticed that Louis at this time seemed somewhat different from the Louis the first knew later in our past life together. Louis had almost never taken the initiative between us. Many times, I would speak at length without getting any response from him, only to look up and find him staring blankly into space. After staring at him in frustration for a while, he would finally snap out of it and I'd ask him, "Were you thinking about math problems again just now?" Then Lou would sincerely say to me, "Manyao, I'm sorry. I was with him for 4 months and the phrase he said to me most often was Manyao, I'm sorry." At that time, I didn't know about the existence of depression. I truly felt he had wronged me. He clearly promised to be with me. Yet he would spend entire days lost in his own world, not even glancing at me. When I had a cold and fever, even the teacher could see how miserable I was. Yet he remained immersed in mathematics. When I was sad about my declining grades, he wasn't at school but shining brightly at some mathematics academic forum. Even on my 18th birthday, after reminding him multiple times daily for half a month, he still stood me up on the day. It's just that I'm not the type to demand or make a scene. I tried to swallow all my grievances, never expecting it would only leave me with a lump in my throat. But the current Louis would care about my swollen eyes from crying, would ask if I'm cold, would kiss me, even if he couldn't do these things. I'm now firm enough not to mind at all. Yet I'm still so grateful that I came 2 months earlier. Perhaps his depression was still relatively mild at this time, maybe in a safe period of depression, or perhaps he hadn't developed depression yet. Yet I couldn't help but realize something must have happened to Louis during these 2 months. 8. I began to pay close attention to Louis's daily condition. What struck me most profoundly was undoubtedly the watch on his left wrist. I remember clearly in the photo beneath that very watch lay terrifyingly dense scars. Seizing the moment when Louis paused his writing, I boldly grabbed his left hand and fixed my gaze on that watch. Upon closer inspection, I realized something was off about this watch. This isn't a watch you can buy on the market. It looks more like it was handmade. Its movement is completely occupied by 5 gears of varying sizes, while the remaining gaps on the dial are filled with densely packed spike-like Fragments of unknown material. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly special about it, yet it gives me an extremely uncomfortable feeling, making my chest feel heavy just by looking at it. I examined it carefully and pretended to ask Louis out of curiosity. Louis, where did you buy this watch? It's so unique. My mom's. I froze. Your mom? She's a mechanical engineer, so it was made by his mother. I breathed a sigh of relief, but new questions arose. I heard Louis also came from a single-parent family. His mother was an elite woman who not only raised him but also had the means to buy an apartment in an upscale neighborhood and fund his overseas education. I saw her at a parent-teacher meeting. She had stylish, elegant, wavy hair and features so delicate she looked like a refined lady from a Republican-era painting. But in his previous life, when Louis committed suicide, all his personal connections were exposed. Even Lao Gao received media interview requests, yet among all this related information, there was no mention of his mother. I suppressed my emotions. That aunt is really impressive. I've never seen a handcrafted watch before. I'd love to try it on. May I? Louis lowered his gaze to look at the watch, then said quietly, my mom won't let me take it off. My heart clenched. He didn't want me to see what was hidden beneath this watch. 9. I knew exactly what this meant, but could only deflect with a laugh. All right, I decided to take a risk. Louis, can I come to your place for tutoring this weekend? Teach me math. Okay. I thought Louis would refuse, but after a moment of consideration, he agreed. All right. Actually, I already knew Louis's contact information and home address, but to avoid raising his suspicion, I asked for them again. I even put on a fierce act. First rule of dating: you must reply to your girlfriend's messages and calls. Got it. Okay. Also, you shouldn't hide things from your girlfriend. Tell her everything first. Okay. Whatever I said, Louis would always agree. He's so well behaved. It makes my heart itch. I glanced around the noisy classroom during break and crooked my finger at him. Come here. Lou also leaned in with confusion, and I cupped my hands over my mouth, moving closer to his ear. I gave his ear a little peck. Boyfriend, this is your reward. Seeing Louis instantly flush red, I contentedly lay back down on the table. At that time, I almost drowned in the sweetness of love, optimistically thinking that misfortune could be erased in advance. Until Saturday, I went to the psychiatric department of the hospital to consult a doctor about depression, and coincidentally saw Louis coming out of the neighboring department. I stood still for a long time, and only after Louis's figure completely disappeared from sight did I muster the courage to walk to the entrance of the department he had just exited. I looked up and saw the doctor's profile on the wall. Specializes in schizophrenia, depression, anxiety disorders. My heart instantly sank to the bottom. 10 o'clock in the afternoon. I went to Louis's house. He was still wearing the same casual clothes he had on when going to the hospital this morning. Louis, what were you doing all morning? As I observed Louis's home, I casually asked him. Louis bent down to help me put on slippers, using other proofs to solve the Poincaré conjecture. I tightened my fingers around the backpack strap. Have you been at home all this time? Louis paused before replying. Yeah. My heart was shrouded in gloom. But remembering the doctor's words this morning about how some depression patients exhibit social withdrawal, I mustered up some courage for myself. Louis, were all these robots made by your mom? Louis's home had the rare gray-blue color scheme, simply decorated with many metal robots of varying sizes and shapes placed in the living room. Louis also went to the kitchen to pour me water. Yeah. She's at work today. I walked up to a robot that was as tall as a vase, its head covered with a cardboard shell on the back. Curious. I tilted its head and a blood-red clown-like grinning face suddenly came into view. Terrified. My face turned pale. Before Louis came out, I quickly restored the robot to its original state and stepped back to keep my distance. When I looked up again at the circle of robot figurines in the living room, I suddenly felt an eerie and horrifying sensation. Let's go. We're heading to the study. Suppressing my palpitations, I followed Louis into the study. There was nothing strange in the study, but as I pulled my chair close to sit beside Louis, I still felt an indescribable unease. That bloody smiling face and Louis kept alternating in my mind. Distracted, I had barely put down a few strokes when Louis grasped the back of my hand. He frowned slightly, looking at me with concern. What's wrong? I could only lie. I had another nightmare last night. Louis stared at me for a few seconds. Just when I thought he had seen through my lie, he suddenly raised his hand to cradle the back of my head, pulling me slightly closer, then placed a soothing light kiss at the corner of my lips. Feeling better now. 11. In that instant, I was utterly convinced that nothing couldn't be healed. I beamed and nodded emphatically. The study time passed swiftly. When the sun set behind the mountains, my mom called me home for dinner. I packed my things. Louis, what are you having for dinner? He hesitated uncharacteristically when answering. There should still be dumplings in the fridge. I asked, puzzled. Isn't your mom coming back to cook? No. She's not coming back today. Being a single mom must be tough. And seeing Louis grow up in such circumstances makes my heart ache for him even more. Suddenly, I made a big decision. Louis, come to my place for dinner. I want you to see my home. 2. Louis froze. Is that okay? Of course, I said without hesitation. Taking his hand. My parents are very hospitable. More than hospitable. They were practically excessively hospitable. I just brought Louis inside and introduced him with one line. This is my deskmate. Louis. Comrade Xiaoyang. This looks obsessed fellow. Quickly wiped away his drool and promptly dragged Louis to the dining table. Oh my. You must be Xiaolu. Come. Auntie just happened to make some delicious food. Comrade Lao Meng initially maintained a stern demeanor. But after seeing Comrade Xiaoyang and Louis chatting back and forth, he couldn't resist butting in with some gossip. Are you that genius mathematician mentioned in the newspaper? Louis replied in a very measured and unusually restrained manner. I dare not presume. Comrade Lao Meng waved his hand and piled a large portion of pork onto his plate. Good lad. Eat more. Eat more. At the table for 4. I became the extra one. Clutching my untouched bowl in confusion, I accidentally met Louis's gaze peering through the vegetable dishes. For 2 lifetimes. This was the first time I saw Louis smile. The feeling in that moment was, I'm willing to share my parents with him. 12. Doctors say that people with depression usually experience significant low mood. I've noticed that Louis's mood seems normal recently. But I still dare not let my guard down. I became alert when Lou started skipping school frequently. I messaged him occasionally every day. And though he didn't always reply promptly, he would eventually respond with explanations. But after he didn't show up for a whole week, I started to feel panicked. I deliberately sent him a WeChat message at 3 a.m. I declare that mathematics is the enemy of my life, /angry. Attached a picture of a complex math problem without much thought. I waited anxiously for 2 minutes and unsurprisingly yet unexpectedly, Lu Ye's reply came. He sent a picture showing 3 different solutions to that math problem, each written neatly and in detail. I couldn't spare a glance. Lu Yi, why aren't you asleep yet? Doing problems. My hands began to tremble. Do you have insomnia? Yeah. My heart was pounding wildly and it took me a long time to calm down before I could type. Then let me coax you to sleep. Okay. But before I could send it, I received another new message from Lu Yi. Even before seeing it, I somehow had a premonition. My gaze moved upward. Seeing that sentence. Meng Yao. I'm sorry. 13. Like a spell that opened Pandora's box. I was caught off guard by the misfortune that came my way. In a fluster, I made a voice call, trying to steady my voice. Lu Yi, why are you saying sorry to me? After a long silence, Lu Ye's weary voice came through. I don't know. As if subconsciously, he added another sentence. I'm sorry. I bit my lip. Lu Yi, there's no need to apologize. Insomnia is completely normal. Look at me today. I couldn't sleep either because of math problems. I tried to keep my tone light, but my words came out all jumbled. Insomnia is like a cold. When you're sick, you can always get better. I realized something, paused, and asked aloud. Lu Yi, have you been taking medication? Both insomnia and hypersomnia are common symptoms of depression. I remembered seeing Lu Yi at the hospital that day. Yeah. I suddenly calmed down. Then does listening to me talk make you uncomfortable? How about I keep you company and chat with you? Okay. I just held my phone and lay on the bed, starting to chatter away. Do you remember that idiot U11? I told her the other day that I'm your girlfriend and she didn't believe me. Even said I was daydreaming. Lu Yi. Next time let's show off our love in front of her and make her eat her words. Okay. These past few days, my parents keep mentioning little Lu at home. Saying a good cabbage got ruined by a pig. You wouldn't believe it. They actually said I'm the pig. Lu Yi. Do you know why my parents don't object to me dating early? Without waiting for Lu Ye's reply, I continued on my own because my dad and mom started dating early. 2. Haha. Laughter. I heard that when my dad pursued my mom in senior year, it caused her grades to drop. Comrade Lao Meng still has to kneel on the washboard for that even now. Haha. I laughed heartily. Yet tears had already silently soaked the pillow. I sniffled and said with a grin. Comrade Xiao Lu. Come to my place for dinner in a couple of days. All right. Lu Yi remained silent for a moment before replying. All right. I wiped my tears and continued to chatter cheerfully about other things, even laughing twice when getting excited. I don't know how long I'd been talking, but my eyelids grew heavier and my voice fainter. Lu Yi hadn't made a sound for a long time, thinking he'd fallen asleep. I could barely hold on, either, beginning to drift off. In the end, I kept mumbling the same thing over and over. Lu Yi. It'll be okay. I'm here. It'll be okay. Before completely sinking into the chaotic haze, I faintly heard a sigh. He said, Meng Yao. Don't cry. I can't kiss you. 14. I dreamed of the first day of high school when I first met Lu Yi. That day, Comrade Lao Meng insisted on driving me to school, but the navigation messed up and made me late. I heard the opening ceremony sounds from the playground and rushed to find my classroom to drop off my backpack first. Just as I ran to the classroom door, I collided head-on with a wall of flesh that nearly sent me flying. But fortunately, that person caught me by the waist. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I stammered out apologies in a fluster, then looked up to see Lu Ye's breathtakingly handsome face. Later, I rushed to the playground and saw him giving a speech as the freshman representative. Only then did I learn that his name was Lu Yi. Standing on the stage in formal attire, he appeared handsome and radiant with striking features, while I remained hidden in the crowd. My heart skipped a beat. 90% of the girls in the entire school had a crush on Lu Yi. The crowd of girls trying to squeeze to our classroom door just to catch a glimpse of Lu Yi grew so large that they had to form a line, eventually forcing the school to send teachers to shoo them away. Taking advantage of the proximity, one girl from our class confessed her feelings to Lu Yi on the third day. At that moment, I was sitting right beside Lu Yi, watching as that girl handed him a love letter. Lu Yi politely expressed his thanks, but instead of accepting the love letter, he handed the girl a piece of paper in return. He said, if you can prove it. All the girls in the school were in an uproar. Solving the problem on it would mean being with Lu Yi. A wave of math problem solving swept through the campus until someone looked it up on Baidu. And everyone realized belatedly that problem has a name. It's called the Riemann hypothesis. No girl dared to approach Lu Yi anymore. I quietly tucked away the white paper with the copied problem, sealing it inside my math textbook. Then secretly swore eternal enmity with mathematics. 15. Woke up with a start from the dream. After hastily packing up, I asked the teacher for leave and took a taxi straight to Lu Ye's home. After hesitating at the door for a long time, I still couldn't rest easy and finally rang the doorbell. When the door opened and I saw Lu Yi standing there unharmed, I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms. Good morning, Lu Yi. Lu Yi clearly didn't expect my sudden appearance, but he still returned my embrace. Meng Yao. His voice sounded so weary. When I pulled away and saw the dark circles under his eyes, my heart ached. Let me stay with you. Okay. Lu Yi never refused any of my requests. He stepped aside and pulled me into the room. The air conditioning was on indoors, and I noticed he was wearing a turtleneck sweater. The combination felt somewhat incongruous to me. I placed the breakfast I brought on the dining table. My mom makes really delicious pumpkin porridge. Just as I finished setting the breakfast table with light movements, sudden footsteps came from the doorway, followed by the sound of a key turning in the lock. I froze, looking at Lu Yi. Lu grabbed my wrist, his voice deep. Mei Yao. My mom is back. Before I could understand the gravity of his expression, he urgently pulled me and shoved me into his bedroom. Wait here. Before closing the door, he said, don't open it. I stood dazedly behind the door, hearing the click-clack of high heels outside that suddenly stopped at a certain point. Muffled, fragmented speech began intermittently, and I only caught one clear sentence. Why don't you just die? Then came strange, indistinct metallic clanging sounds accompanied by the noise of something heavy being dropped. Unable to obey, I instinctively swung the door wide open. First, I saw a slender figure standing by the dining table, seemingly twisting some wire in hand, and kneeling shirtless before her was Lu Yi. He knelt on the hard marble floor, head hanging like a lifeless puppet, his hair drenched in sticky fluid. It was that bowl of pumpkin porridge. My breath hitched, my foot barely making a tiny movement. Lu Yi suddenly raised his head and looked at me. He was looking at me with a look I could never forget in my lifetime, yet dare not recall for the rest of my days. He was begging me not to go out, begging me not to look. 16. With all my strength, I slowly closed the door, covering my mouth. I slid down against the wall, tilting my head back to hold back tears. Through the door, I heard the muffled sound of metal striking flesh and the hate-filled words. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. At that moment, I truly hated myself. I hated my helplessness, hated my understanding of Louis, hated my past life. That was the longest and most painful time of my life, and the thought that this might just be an ordinary fragment of Louis's decade-long life made me feel even more pained until who knows how much later when Louis crouched in front of me. It still felt somewhat unreal. My vision was too blurred to see his face clearly. Yet I could still somehow perceive his heartache. He was aching for me. Meow. I'm sorry. He gently wiped away my tears with his fingertips. I didn't know she would come back today. I grasped his fingers, hastily wiping my tears to examine his body. There were no scars on his face. Water droplets clung to his hair and he had changed into a black shirt, clearly having cleaned up. I noticed his collar was awkwardly and unpleasantly raised high, and as I realized something, a sudden chill ran through my entire body. With trembling hands, I reached for his collar. My voice choked with tears. Louis. This time it was Louis who grasped my fingers. He sighed. Not good looking. I stared at him without speaking. Louis reluctantly let go of his hand. When I saw the red marks on the fair skin, my hand trembled uncontrollably. Yet I stubbornly examined that fresh scar over and over, along with the 2 older-looking rings beneath it that appeared recent. I finally understood Louis always wore high-necked sweaters when others were still in thin shirts. Not because he feared the cold. Holding my breath, I lifted the hem of his shirt again. What I couldn't see clearly from a distance before, the crisscrossing scars covering Louis's body, now lay exposed before my eyes. I couldn't even bear to touch the wound with my hand, afraid it would hurt him. Why would his own mother? I choked up. Louis. Does it hurt? Louis smiled at me. If you feel the pain for me, then I won't feel it anymore. 17. This is by far the longest speech Louis has ever said to me. He told me about his mother. His father was abusive, and his mother left home with him when he was 1 year old. For a single mother, making a living in an unfamiliar city was as difficult as climbing to the sky. She survived by scavenging through trash piles during the day, teaching herself mechanical engineering from scrap metal. Life was hard, but his mother would rather go days without food or water just to give him a birthday with a cake. Exhausted as she was, she still took him to the park near their home every evening, never letting other children bully him. When he was 8 years old, perhaps because of a heavy rain, or maybe just a sneeze, his mother suddenly flew into a rage, accusing him of being the reason she became like this, blaming and resenting him. The next day, when sober, she cried and begged for his forgiveness. Later, this cycle of resentment, scolding, and apologies repeated several times, escalating to beatings followed by apologies, until eventually she would experience memory loss and couldn't recall what she had done. Anxiety, mania, mild schizophrenia, selective amnesia, mania. She's just sick. Louis comforted me with the words I once said to him. Just like a cold. It can be cured. She hadn't had a relapse for a long time before this. I couldn't speak, opening my mouth several times. Does she know now? When she wake up, you'll forget. Are you keeping it from her? She won't be able to handle it. What about you? I asked. Louis, what will you do then? I can handle it. How can you handle it? Don't you realize you're sick yourself? She'll drag you into the abyss sooner or later. How I wish I could blurt it out without a care. But I can't. The doctor said if a depressed person still talks to others about their problems, it means the situation is somewhat optimistic. But I can't feel happy about it at all. I held Louis's hand. Louis, she needs to go to the hospital. I've been arranging doctors for her. No. She needs to go herself. She's too proud to accept this. That year, 17-year-old me didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I said to him, Louis, let's give it a try. After a long contemplation, Louis chose to place immense trust in me. All right. Let's try. For many years afterward, whenever I recalled this conversation, I couldn't fall asleep. I've carried the guilt of those words for a lifetime. 18. Louis's mother was admitted to the hospital on a day in early November. On the day she was taken to the hospital, I hid under a tree outside watching Louis talk with her. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her bare face pure and innocent like the most harmless angel. And I was utterly captivated. Bathed in the early autumn morning sunlight, she suddenly turned her head in my direction and gave me a gentle yet breathtaking smile. How strange. I found I couldn't bring myself to dislike her anymore. Louis began shuttling between the hospital and school every day, saying his mother's condition was improving day by day. So, both Louis and I firmly believe that she will soon recover and be discharged from the hospital. Meanwhile, Louis's condition has been improving day by day, with his depression gradually shifting from moderate to mild, now having minimal impact on him. Louis said he doesn't plan to go abroad until his mother recovers, and he'll attend university domestically first. So, my goal is to get into that top-tier domestic university he's aiming for. I studied like crazy, squeezing in time to date Louis. On the night the teaching building lost power, I secretly kissed his cheek in the darkness. When the lights came back on, it felt like I could see countless bright lamps illuminating our future. Squinting my eyes, I asked a question I'd always wanted to ask. Louis, why do you like me? Louis was momentarily stunned, then raised his pen to draw a coordinate axis on the paper. He dotted many irregular black points in the blank space, then drew a diagonal line through the middle. I was puzzled. A univariate linear regression equation. Louis nodded, pointing at those scattered black dots. This is my existence. He pointed at that line again. This is your significance. Actually, I didn't understand. But it didn't stop me from giggling and immediately bragging to Yuan. Yuan looked at me like I was an idiot. Who knew even geniuses could be so cheesy with their sweet talk? I hefted proudly. You just don't understand Louis's romantic side. Not only did Yuan laugh at me, but old man and comrade Xia Yang also joined in mocking me. I often studied until dawn, and they'd joke that I was risking my life for romance. My parents may appear tolerant and open-minded, but I know perfectly well if my relationship ever interfered with my studies, no matter how wonderful Louis was, they'd never approve again. Only by letting them see me improving will they believe this is a healthy relationship. Back then, I was full of confidence in myself and Louis, completely forgetting that when Pandora closed the box, she left hope inside. 19. In the March of spring, only 101 days remain until the college entrance examination. The day before the anniversary of my breakup with Louis in my past life, I sent him my usual morning greeting as always. At first, I didn't mind not receiving his reply, thinking he was too busy visiting his mother at the hospital. When he didn't come to school in the afternoon, I called him in confusion. Several unanswered calls made me start to worry, but it was my grandmother's birthday that day, and our family had agreed to gather at her place after I finished school in the evening. Undeniably, prolonged peace had dulled my alertness. I didn't go looking for Louis right away. That night at 10 o'clock after returning from Grandma's house, as I watched those unanswered messages pile up one by one, I felt a terrifying palpitation. I waited until there was no movement outside and my parents had gone to rest before sneaking out of the house. Just as I tiptoed past the living room, my hand not yet on the doorknob, a deep voice suddenly came from behind. It's so late. Where are you going? My heart stopped, and I turned around. The living room was unlit. Old Mang stood by the glass door connecting the balcony, the cigarette in his hand emitting a faint crimson glow. Old Mang usually fooled around at home, but when it came to matters of principle, he was more serious than anyone. Even through the darkness, I could sense the authority and solemnity emanating from him. I knew lying is useless, so I can only selectively conceal the truth. I'm going to find Louis. I clenched the hem of my clothes. Haven't been able to reach him all day. I'm a bit worried. Old Mang's tone was uncharacteristically cold. Then call the police. Finding people is the police's job, not something for you to worry about by going out at midnight. Old Mang knew me well. He could tell I was hiding something. Just as I knew him, I understood exactly how he would react upon learning the truth. He wouldn't accept it. I pleaded. Dad, when I was 18 and pursuing your mother, I never let her go out alone at night. He stubbed out his cigarette and walked toward me. Without a reason. You're not stepping through this door. I have no other choice. Louis also has depression. I was shamefully close to tears again. Dad, I'm sorry, but I have to go find him. I turned the doorknob, trying to make a quick escape, but he still grabbed my arm. We stood in silent confrontation for a few seconds before Old Mang released his grip. Put on your coat. I'll go with you. Dad has a car. 20. Halfway through the drive, it started to rain. It began as a drizzling rain that gradually intensified, culminating in the roar of thunder. I remembered breaking up with Louis in my previous life. It was on a rainy day just like this. We had made plans to have dinner together after school. But that day I waited from sunset until the moon hung high in the sky. Yet Louis never showed up. This wasn't the first time Louis had stood me up. But the spring rain that day was unusually heavy, the night wind exceptionally cold. And for some reason, I felt particularly wronged. Louis' indifference, broken promises, and calmness kept replaying in my mind. I walked home in the rain and developed a high fever that night. I texted Louis to break up. Not receiving his reply left me utterly disappointed, further solidifying my resolve to break up with him. Louis never showed up at school again after that. And I couldn't help but feel worried and suspicious. But one day a month later, he suddenly came to school and said those words, "I'm sorry," to me again. I noticed he didn't look well, and my heart ached for a moment, only to hear his next words, "But I won't break up." His words were unusually domineering, and I couldn't understand how he could be so self-righteous. I said angrily, "Louis, this isn't up to you." Louis gripped my wrist tightly. His eyes rimmed red. He said, "Meow. I will die." At that time, I failed to recognize it as his cry for help. I stared at him in shock, equating him with those obsessive freaks who threatened to die after a breakup. How could you be this kind of person? As I grew older, I regretted ever harboring such doubts about Louis. But what's done is done. And I don't think Louis, who was already renowned back then, would need an apology from me. By that time, I had become even more unworthy of him. I had only ever seen Louis's glorious side, never realizing he was trapped in dire straits and had once seen me as his lifeline. And I, before he plunged into the abyss of eternal damnation, gave him one final push, not finding anyone at Louis's home. We drove to the hospital where his mother was. As we passed the park at the neighborhood entrance, a feeling came over me, and I got out of the car. Through the hazy curtain of rain, I saw Louis curled up in the space beneath the slide like an unwanted child. I ran up to him, my trembling hands unsure where to place themselves. Louis raised his head, his eyes hollow and empty. His voice remained as calm and faint as ever, but mingled with the sound of rain. It seemed fragmented and desolate. He said, "Meow. I don't have a mother anymore." 21. Lou was also taken home, given the medicine prescribed by the doctor, and fell into a deep sleep. It was already the early hours of the morning. During the night, he began to run a high fever intermittently, murmuring unconsciously, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." My heart ached unbearably. Consumed by guilt I couldn't escape. I stayed awake all night watching. Lou's fever broke, but he showed no signs of waking. Old man kept vigil outside the room all night, and at dawn he brought breakfast and came to call me. I sat across from him in a daze, faintly aware of what he was about to say. "I've asked for leave on your behalf." I froze, not expecting this opening line. "Today's your 100-day pledge rally for the college entrance exam. That old gal is really stubborn. It took me quite some talking to get your leave approved." Sipping his porridge, he said calmly, "Kid, let's hear it. What are your plans?" I thought he would scold me. And I also thought he would make me break up with Luya. I just didn't expect him to throw the initiative to me. I swallowed hard, my voice hoarse. "I want to stay with him." For how long? "Until he gets better." He looked up at me. "Even if it takes months or years." I met his gaze without flinching. "Or perhaps indefinitely." Old man's pupils contracted slightly. He averted his eyes and let out a light chuckle. "So what are your plans for the college entrance exam? Are you giving up on it?" At that time, I was actually just one step away from China's top universities. Just needed to stretch a little further to reach it. With a pale face, I said, "I can study at home. I can study while he's asleep." But the doctor just mentioned the risk of suicide, asking us to strengthen supervision and raise awareness, preferably providing 24-hour monitoring. Do you know what that means? I silently lowered my head, then raised it again after a few seconds. "I can take a leave of absence from school. Or I can repeat a year." Old Meng's eyes turned cold. I was afraid, but I spoke with absolute determination. "But I cannot give up on Louis." Old Meng's voice also turned cold. "Then what do you expect your mother and me to do? How dare you assume we'd allow you to make such an absurd decision?" I hung my head in shame again. "Dad, I'm sorry. Please have some pity for Louis. I'm your father, not his. You will be eventually." Old Meng laughed in frustration, got up from the dining table, and paced back and forth a few steps. You're not sober right now. We'll talk when you're clear-headed. Old Meng made as if to leave, but I called out to stop him. Dad, I'm completely sober now. I once asked you if you regretted pursuing Mom back then, causing her to miss getting into a top school. You said Mom might have regretted it. But you never did. Though it may be shameful. There are always certain people or things in life that you would unwaveringly choose when faced with a decision. Dad. I'm sorry. Louis is my unwavering choice. Old Meng paused behind the door back then. I don't know what he was thinking. He said. If this is your decision, then I understand. 22. I'm fortunate to have such open-minded and rational parents. Since childhood, they never imposed any ideology or choices on me, but instead showed me respect in every way. I know how unfilial this is, but I saw Louis staring blankly out the window, not saying a word, like a walking corpse. I've lost Louis once before. I can't lose him again. I patted his head and called out to him. For half an hour. He showed no response. I stepped away for a moment to get some food, but he suddenly grabbed my hand again. It was a very light touch. I stopped and asked softly, "What's wrong?" Louis's gaze was unfocused. I asked again, "Do you want me to stay with you?" He didn't speak, but I just sat down beside him and never left again. I kept chattering to him about some funny things. And as I talked, Louis fell asleep again. He began to become lethargic, vomiting after eating, and spent each day in a daze without speaking. On the third day, when I went out to pour hot water and returned, I found Louis was unexpectedly not in bed. He sat at the study desk, holding a pen with his head bowed over a blank sheet of paper. For a moment, I thought he had recovered. So I approached. Louis. Louis looked up at me, his face blank with confusion. After several days, the first words he spoke to me were, "I think I've forgotten how to do math." The second sentence is, "I might be sick." The third sentence is, "Ming Yao, do you still want me?" 23. I held Louis, telling him over and over how much I needed him. He took his medicine and fell asleep again. I got a call from Lao Gao, who told me how spectacular the scene was on the 100 Days Pledge Day. He told me to take good care of myself and return to school soon. My parents haven't informed the school about my leave of absence yet. And I couldn't bring myself to say it either. They didn't pressure me, as if they had already accepted it. But deep down I don't want to give up either. While Louis was asleep, I crouched in the living room studying on my own, thinking this way I could balance both. I had another nightmare about Louis' suicide from my past life. After waking up in panic, I rushed into the room, but couldn't find Louis. Breaking into a cold sweat, I barged into the bathroom and saw him lying in the bathtub. This scene is too cruel. I cried and called his name over and over. He also cried, murmuring repeatedly, "I should just die. I should die. My heart is broken." 24. Since then, I haven't dared to leave Louis' side for a single step. I gathered all potentially harmful items in the house and locked them in other rooms. I sleep by Louis' bedside, needing to watch him fall asleep first before daring to close my eyes. If it weren't for my mom bringing us meals, sometimes I wouldn't even have time to eat. I'm so exhausted. But I can't let Louis sense any of my negative emotions. Even with my parents, I put on a brave face in front of them, pretending I'm fine. I feel deeply depressed, but I've never thought of giving up. I used to think Louis was someone who couldn't be measured by common standards. He possesses the most clear-headed and rational mind in the world with terrifying emotional self-control. How incredibly strong must his willpower be to remain virtuous for over a decade while his mother was ill, and even complete what's considered one of history's greatest mathematical researches while battling severe depression for 4 years. In the battle against depression, it was mostly him saving himself. My presence didn't seem that important. But that sudden storm made me suddenly realize my significance to Louis. During the 100-day pledge ceremony before the college entrance exam in my past life, Teacher Gao had the whole class write their thoughts on slips of paper, put them in message bottles, and hand them to him, saying we could come claim them years later. What I wrote back then was, "The road is long, the journey far, though my heart yearns, no distance bars." Back then, I was still desperately trying to catch up with Louis's footsteps. This year, I missed the 100-day pledge ceremony. So, I found a small glass bottle at Louis's place and wrote a note myself. I wrote, "Ming Yao is Louis's homecoming." After writing it, I put it in the glass bottle and boasted to the sleeping Louis. Louis, I understand your confession now. I fell asleep leaning on his bedside. And in my drowsiness, I felt someone touching my face. So precious. So gentle. 25. A week later, something incredible happened. Louis regained consciousness. He would get up to eat breakfast, take his medicine, and even say thank you to me. I held him close, nuzzling his face. Louis, it'll get better. When Lou got slightly better, I felt like I came back to life. 2 days later in the afternoon, Comrade Xiaoyang came to deliver food, and I happily shared with her. Shortly after, she received a call. What? Mom fell and was hospitalized. I stood there stunned, watching her hang up and rush off in a panic. Did something happen to Grandma? I was so worried. I didn't know what to do. When Lou suddenly appeared behind me. For the first time, he took the initiative to ask me, "What's wrong?" I pulled myself together. And no, it's nothing. Let's eat. Louis raised his hand to cup my face, pulling me close before his eyes. Man Yao, I'll get better. He pressed his forehead against mine, his gaze seemingly regaining its vitality once more. Believe me. All right. I believe. How could I not believe? I said joyfully. I believe. I trust Louis the most. Louis planted a kiss on the corner of my lips. 26. In the evening, old man suddenly came by. Your grandmother was asking about you at the hospital. Don't you plan to visit her? Mom told me not to go this afternoon. But I've actually been worried about it the whole time. It's just Lou must be asleep by now. I'll keep an eye on things. You go and come back quickly. I looked at Louis's peaceful sleeping face and hesitated for a moment. All right. Grandma is also my family. I can't help but worry. Besides, I have complete trust in old man. I didn't expect that when I rushed to the hospital. There was no one there at all. I called my mom, and she stammered. Yao Yao. I'm sorry. A chill ran down my spine as I turned and ran back to Louis's house. Louis was gone. Old man sat in the living room smoking, watching coldly as I frantically searched the house like a madman. Only when I had searched enough, lost hope, and collapsed helplessly on the ground, did he finally speak. He's gone. I looked at him with reddened eyes. To Princeton. I couldn't believe it. My voice hoarse with accusation. Dad. You're committing murder. The moment the words left my mouth, seeing old Meng's suddenly frosty expression, I immediately regretted it. He even helped handle the funeral arrangements for Luya's mother. After all his indulgence towards me, how could I say such things to my own father? Completely flustered, I buried my face and sobbed. I'm sorry. I'm just so worried about Luyi. They'll find him the best psychologists in the world. For a genius like him, there are many people who'd want to save his life. Old Meng squatted in front of me and patted my head. Yao Yao. This was his own decision. 27. The powerlessness of adolescence seems to be just like this. You have boundless courage, fearless of dangers, but none of it can compare to a plane ticket in reality. Old Meng said. As long as I can get admitted. He would spend his last penny to send me to Princeton. To get into a top domestic university and secure an exchange spot at Princeton, you'd at least need to be a junior or senior. 3 or 4 years. Lu Yi. Can you wait that long? Lu Yi asked me to trust him. I don't know where he gets his confidence from. I don't even believe in myself. That fool. What if I don't pass the exam? I used all the time I used to spend with Lu Yi to study, determined not to give any room for wild thoughts. On the day the college entrance exam ended, I thought I could pass, but I couldn't feel happy about it. Yuan dragged me to the graduation party and told me to invite Lu Yi out. None of them knew what Lu Yi was going through. They only thought he was still shining brightly somewhere not far away. I felt inexplicably sad. In this lifetime's graduation ceremony, Lu Yi was still missing from the photo. Starting over. I changed nothing. I fell into deep self-doubt and guilt, dreaming either of Lu Yi or his mother every day. In fact, I've always believed that I was responsible for Lu Yi's mother's death. I feel like I'm on the verge of depression. I lost my appetite, spoke less and less, until a few days later when old Meng suggested taking me out to relax. I'm not really interested, but I don't want him to worry. The car stopped in front of the embassy, and I hadn't even realized it yet. Old Meng pulled me out of the car. Go. Get your visa. I stared at him blankly, not understanding. Old Meng looked disdainful. Pathetic. To be in such a state after just a few days. He pulled out a plane ticket. It was for New York. I'll buy this one for you in this lifetime. The next ticket. You write it yourself. After saying it, he immediately regretted it. No. No. Your father is poor. This money will have to be deducted from Luya's future bride price. Old Meng muttered to himself. My eyes reddened as I threw myself into his arms. How fortunate I am to have the best father in the world. 28. The plane landed in New York. And Luya's personal doctor's assistant came to pick me up. His name is Robert. And he tried to communicate with me in broken Mandarin. Hello. I'm here to dilute. Act as a scarf. Driver for the doctor's main force. Assistant. At this moment, I can only feel grateful that I studied English well in college. The drive from New York to Princeton takes just over an hour. Perhaps it's the anxiety of nearing home. The closer we got, the more restless I felt, even missing several responses to Robert's words. He smiled and said, Patrick is doing fine. Don't worry. He seems different from other patients. He attempted suicide once, but called for help at the last moment, which is very rare among depression patients. Maybe it's because he's a genius. You know, geniuses are always special. Luya is no genius. He's just a big idiot. He left me without saying anything, making me travel thousands of miles just to find him. I could hardly resist the urge to scold him or even hit him, but seeing him standing dazed in the yard, all my anger melted away. I rushed over, braking at the last second, and reached out to cover his eyes from behind. I said in English, Guess who? He froze and after a long pause, replied hoarsely, Ming Yao. That's not right. Louis gripped the back of my hand, his fingers trembling. Ming Yao. Helpless. I asked in Chinese. Who is Ming Yao? It seemed like this was the only word he knew, yet he stubbornly repeated, Ming Yao. I released my grip and stepped in front of him, only then noticing his bloodshot eyes. Remember this. Ming Yao is your future wife. I grabbed his collar and said fiercely, If you dare die again, I'll become a widow. 29. Princeton started spreading legends about me. They say there's a Chinese girl who chased her love across oceans, all the way to Princeton. Doctors and nurses in the hospital kept pestering me for gossip every day. Unable to bear the harassment, I finally said, Louis Yao owes my father a plane ticket. So my father sent me to demand a bride price from Louis Yao. Well, the legend then became my father's. But when these words reached Louis Yao's ears, he immediately took them seriously. He handed me his bank card and asked naively, Is this enough? My mind was full of question marks as I saw all those zeros in his digital account. I was shocked. How do you have so much money? Won some awards from a few projects, plus payments for decrypting codes for the military. I never used this money. I never expected my boyfriend to be this wealthy. Enough for what? Louis tilted his head as he looked at me. To marry you. My face turned bright red and it took me a long while to find my voice. Louis Yao. I am not even of legal age yet. He said seriously. Then let's make a reservation. Me. His depression was gradually improving, but he needed to stay at Princeton for research, while my domestic admission notice had long been issued. On the day I was returning to China, Louis Yao insisted on forcing his card into my hand. It's hard to refuse such kindness, so I it. While packing my luggage, I accidentally found a small glass bottle in Luya's bedside drawer, very similar to the one I once used to slip a note into at his place. Curiously, I opened it and saw my own handwriting on it. Meng Yao is Luya's homeward path. Beneath this line, there was Luya's elegant and refined handwriting, which read, If life has an answer, she is the only solution. Extra Story 1. Luya's Love Letter. 3 years later, Louis, the youngest Fields Medal winner, gave an interview. Mr. Liu, I heard your previous focus was always on the Poincaré conjecture. Why did you suddenly switch to the Riemann hypothesis 3 years ago? A reminiscent expression appeared on Luya's face. Because of a love letter. He smiled. This is my love letter to my beloved. The media all thought Louis also had a lover who was equally a genius mathematician. Even I was starting to believe it. I interrogated Louis. Which lover did you send that love letter to? Why didn't I know about it? Louis mentioned that when a girl confessed to him in their first year of high school, he had thrown the Riemann hypothesis problem at her. During my stay at his place, one day he noticed a piece of paper falling out of my math book with a date written on it. Yeah. It was the date I vowed to wage war against mathematics. I rushed to Luya's bedside table to search. And sure enough, found that piece of paper. Beside me. A pair of pale fingers held a pen writing with fluid grace. 6 also dedicated to Meng Yao. Extra Chapter 2. Old Meng and Little Lu. In senior year of high school, Louis had just regained clarity from endless exhaustion. Meng Yao lay by his bedside, exhausted and asleep. He stared at her, lost in thought. When old Meng entered, leaning against the door, he took a drag of his cigarette. Princeton's medical care should be decent, right? He looked at Louis and said, I'm just giving you a heads up. Before graduating from university, Meng Yao struggled with whether to take the domestic postgraduate entrance exam or strive to go to Princeton to accompany Louis. At the dinner table, old Meng said she had already